slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, coming down like precipitation. I ain't never met a limitation. Hater plotting my elimination. Gotta go to Google for the information. I'm a superstar, so I gotta shine. Top dollar be the bottom line. Bottom feeding niggas out of line. Turn your heart rate to a dotted line. Yeah, my zodiac probably dollar sign. Got the energy to win it, my nigga, I'm feeling great. Got a date with destiny, focusing on my fate. I don't give a fuck what you rapping, you been a fake. I'm everything that they ain't, it can't be, it won't be. Wanna see me fall, I can't go, I won't leave. Coming from the block with plain clothes and police. Straight up to the top with bankrolls and rollies. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, 12 can't really stop shit, so I'm still pushing like a mosh pit. Ice dripping, think I'm hot shit. In the yellow bucket with the mop stick. I've been jugging jams like wholesale. Everything must go sell. Hitting bitches with the oh well. Need 100 million on the low scale. On my worst night, I'm the best nigga. Wouldn't mess with you, couldn't cap to him. Homie spotted me like 700, brought 1100 right back to him. If I can't do it, then it ain't real. I just make dollars, I don't make deals. I've been going hard in the paint, still blowing kush clouds till I can't feel like. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Welcome in one and all to some more Titan Conqueror League action here in week 3, and this is the exciting week for Group B's and C as it's our cross-group week, Freedom Potatoes.
I feel like the cross-group matchups are always like extra challenging for some reason, but you know we've got two undefeated teams going up against each other, or undefeated in the matches at least. They've dropped a game each, but it's so you know, strong competitors going up against each other. And I think it's going to be a banger. Yeah, we've got Elysium, Peanutbutter Jelly facing off against XSV Starfall. So we're going to figure out if we're going to be singing, you know, that classic Peanut Butter Jelly time tune, or maybe I don't know any songs called Starfall, but maybe Skyfall. That's the closest thing I could think of. So we'll get some Adele in there, but
yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, Pantheon's old used to be called Grand Skyfall, even though it's Grand Starfall now. I mean, we could potentially see some Pantheon out of Hammon Karn. I know that's right up their wheelhouse. They even played it this year. So I'll be wait and see. And specifically speaking to Hammon Karn, are currently rated number 2 on the stats page of junglers here in Conqueror League. At least my eyes are going to be on, you know, this player who's been in and around the scene for quite a while, who's especially popped off early on here in this season of Titan Conqueror League.
I was reading Prophet of Tears' content piece earlier, and yeah, he was saying this might be, you know, basically a preview of our grand finals. He expects XSV Starfall to be potentially our first, and Elysium not far behind. So it's this matchup could say a lot about how our playoffs are going to look in the future here.
Yeah, and speaking of Elysium, PBJ, Peanut Butter Jelly. There's no and in there. Their mid lane, cute jungle puppy, won't be playing here today. Is being subbed in by Watercat. But if you're talking about substitutes that like you're fine with pulling right in on a moment's notice, Watercat is absolutely one of them.
Watercat, very reliable player, good sub to have on deck. And you know, is going to be facing up against XBKP, who's famously, I feel like, also a bit of a Titan. I mean, the XSV roster, I feel like, is quite stacked with players who have been around for a while, big names within this little bubble that we've got going on here. So it's a scary team to go up against. But I think Elysium might have what it takes to you know, knock them down a peg.
I mean, yeah, these two teams absolutely are going to be near the top and should expect to be good to go at the later end of the season. Expect to be some of the higher seeds going into playoffs, but we are underway into the draft straight away. Jinx is going to be banned off by the side of Elysium.
Classic first pick. Kind of surprised that Elysium is the one to ban it, because I see a lot of teams pick that as their B1. Now, Jinx did get a little bit of a nerf, just a bit of armor growth to make her, you know, a little squishier as the game goes on. Don't know if that's going to affect her priority too massively, but yeah, she's often picked on the blue side as a first pick, so I'm surprised to see that taken away. Fiddlesticks, also not a ban that you see every day thrown out by the side of XSV.
Yeah, Hammon Karn played this last week in their win over to the Moon Galaxy. It popped off on it. It's one of those picks that, because you don't see very often, if you don't have an answer to it, sometimes it just might be better off getting rid of it, and especially when there's not as much time going into. And speaking of jungle bans, my goodness, Hammon Karn getting a ton of respect from actually, wait, no, hold on. Teams around. You know what? Never mind. Either way, Mbessa getting locked in by Elysium PBJ.
Wow, Mbessa first picked. She did get a slight nerf, but just to her jungle, I think, on this patch. So still a very solid performer in the top lane, can kind of melt through tanks, has a lot of presence in team fights, you know, a lot of backline access. It's going to be responded to with the Xin Zhao. Classic staple pick. Oh, we've got the side swapped, so that is making a little bit more sense now.
All right.
So you were right all along.
I knew.
I was also I was like, I don't see Nutty Brains with a Fiddlesticks game, so I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, we're back on the correct sides now. So we've got Aphelios, who was recently buffed this patch, going up against Varus down in the bottom lane, and it's always interesting seeing you know, because Conqueror plays on patch day, so we haven't really gotten a lot of time to feel out how those changes have landed. It's a bit of a testing ground in a way.
Yeah, it's also one that's always interesting to, like, as casters come through, because you know, you come into the matchup and it's like, okay, someone is getting locked in. All right. Okay. I feel that's a bigger talking point than any sort of patch Freedom Potatoes.
I mean, I've seen Sona getting a good amount of play. Like, she's got I think a pretty solid win rate right now relative to where she usually lands. But she is mostly a scaling pick, and so is Aphelios, whereas Karma and Varus can both bully the enemy champions a lot in the early game. So I'm a little scared for Elysium's bottom lane in the earlier phases of the game. I think if they can make it to the late game, it's going to be a very solid pairing. You know, a lot of utility coming out of the Sona. She can empower the jungler. You know, it reduce the damage of Ambessa if she jumps onto her Aphelios. But yeah, it might be tough for them to get there.
Yeah, notoriously Sona in the late game. You literally don't even have to look at the screen sometimes. You just put your face on the keyboard and roll it around, and then you get insane value from that champ. But it does, you mentioned, does take a while to get there. But I think part of the reason why that Sona has been receiving quite a bit of popularity is because of the new support tier item. That Diadem of Songs allows you to basically, well, allow Sona to easily get a tier in lane, and then also gets and just generally tons of value on any sort of enchanters. But as we've gone through, Galio, Cassante, and Syndra are all locked in. XSV going for the two beefy boys, while PB and J going with Syndra.
Yeah, not a ton of range or wave clear up in their top side, which could become an issue later into the game, you know, if they have to fend off any sieges. But it is going to make it very hard for Syndra to one-shot those solo laners, one-shot the jungler. And I think that is going to be Ambessa jungle also. And on the side of Elysium, we've got the Syndra locked in, signature pick for Watercat. I think that's his most played. And then Gnar going up in the top lane should be able to dance around the Cassante. If he's got good, you know, good kiting, good spacing, I think that leans pretty favorably in the Gnar's direction.
Yeah, getting the extra range into melee matchups always helps out a lot. Gnar also extremely versatile with, you know, the multiple forms that it's a little bit hard to play around sometimes. You have to start to organize around that rage bar to find some good Gnar ultimates, but it's still one that is maybe less of a staple in the top lane these days, but one that's always favored by top laners. So now that everything's said and done with this draft, who do you have favored between these two teams? I think XSV, they're kind of lacking on damage is my main concern, and Varus, I think, especially if it's poke, Varus might struggle later on, especially with Sona, because any sort of damage he'll do, Sona just W.
Yeah. Serpent's Fang could be big value though.
Sure, it could be, but I feel like most of the value from the Sona W comes from the healing, and you know, it's an aura shield, right? Everybody in the circle gets the shield, and you know, it's kind of hard for Varus to hit everybody in that regard, and
unless they all stand in his E or something. Yeah.
True. This is completely valid, but yeah, I think that could definitely be a bit difficult to cut through, and also it's a really awful on-hit Varus game as well, because usually with on-hit Varus, you want a bunch of front-line targets to hit, which is not something that PBJ really have in their draft.
Why does Imp not have a health potion in the Gnar matchup? I feel like I would want that for sustain.
Wait, Birdio! Let's go! Thank you.
Birdio?
Thank you.
Lane. For
Loki.
Wait, is Argo the Radis I just realized, is that a sub, or is that just did XBKP just change his name?
I don't know. It did say XBKP in the draft, right? Like, unless I just didn't read. I mean, did we both just not read and behind the scenes Prod's laughing at us, which is completely possible. But either way, it is in fact Argo. Argo.
Yeah.
Argo the Radis. I'm going to assume how it's pronounced. The OT. We're just assuming he's French, I suppose, or they are French. My bad on assuming gender on that one.
Anyway, you can see the yeah, okay, so that is a substitute, it turns out. And yeah, you can see the damage being traded between the supports early on pretty heavily. Jae Young did miss one of those crucial mantra Qs, which deal so much damage in the early game. They're gonna look for a trade here, but nothing doing.
Yeah, that's just how early Sona do, really, especially Aphelios also not exactly the strongest in lane. Actually, his 2 starting guns aren't the worst ever, and obviously being able to heal back up with Severum, so they could probably survive the early pressure, but it's definitely not going to feel great, especially with how.
Oh, you there? Cut out for me. I can't tell if I'm the one having issues or if you are, but in case it's you, I'm just gonna keep yapping. So yeah, the Aphelios guns, the range and the healing both let him trade decently in the early game. And that can help him, sustain through this poke lane that the other side has. I would expect XSVS to get some priority, try to stack up these dragons early, because they have, such an advantageous bot lane. It looks like they might actually be letting the wave come back into them so that Hamonkarn can pull off a gank maybe after the Scuttle Crab. We'll see if that's how they want to play it out, because Xin Zhao is completely on the other side of the map, and Elysium doesn't have any vision down in the bottom lane here. It's the Mbessa is going to be walking through the enemy jungle before doing that crab, actually. As we turn our eyes to the mid lane, we've got the Syndra versus Galio matchup, which is a pretty interesting one in my book. I play a lot of Syndra, and melee matchups are nice because you can kind of farm stacks. The Syndra can farm plenty of stacks early out, but there is that gank coming through from the Mbessa. Actually, most of the damage coming back onto Jae Young. Elysium's bot lane making it out just fine from that play. And it's okay. I think I can continue the solo for now, unless things get too crazy. But with the mid lane matchup, Syndra can kind of farm up stacks. If she goes for a pure damage build, it's pretty tough for her to one-shot Galio, and Galio being able to protect his carries also makes it pretty hard for her to, one-shot anyone that he ults. But if she... Hello. Welcome back.
Oh my god. Okay, sometimes... Hey, I got ganked IRL by Spectrum.
Unlucky.
Yeah, that's how it is. Okay, but I'm back. Thank you for carrying the cast, Freedom Potatoes. But hopefully that won't happen again.
Yeah.
But it just is what it is.
Yeah, if it does.
Anyway. Oh wait, it's like a knockback on the Q3 from Imp. Daru's gone low. Daru's gone down with the final auto attack. First blood going the way of Imp on the Cassante.
Yeah, I mean, the Gnar has to be so careful in this matchup because yes, you have great spacing, great mobility, in that mini form. But if you do get jumped on by the Cassante, he can be pretty sticky. The big thing is you need to hold the hop for when Cassante advances on you. If you hop aggressively on Gnar, you are putting yourself in grave danger. And you can see both top laners also had flash there. So yeah, I guess I spoke too soon about that no pot start for Imp because he pulls out the solo kill. He is down CS, the Gnar, as expected, getting the upper hand in that department, but one wrong move, Imp takes the lead.
Yeah, and at the very least, as you mentioned, with the CS advantage going the way of Daru, as was expected. The gold should probably be about level, but level's not exactly the place you'd want to be with like the counter pick, especially with the ranged into melee matchup. Obviously, Daru probably continue to look to expand his lead here in the top lane, or the CS lead in the top lane, but I do think those plated steel caps from Imp will just make it that much harder. Yeah,
now the Phage is going to make that spacing a little nicer for Daru on the Gnar there, but he's kind of on the enemy side of the lane. Mbessa is down bot, so not going to have to worry too much about a gank. And it looks like XSV is trying to set up for this first Ocean Drake here, going deep for some vision, but Duddy Brains is here to clear it out.
Yeah, level 6 available to the mid laners, and now the Jungler Public Execution drops. Hero's Entrance comes down. Duddy Brains cannot move. Hamonkarn will secure the second kill of the game for XSV Starfall.
Yeah, Duddy Brains caught a little off guard there. Hamonkarn hit level and just sends it in. That Galio pairing with the Mbessa is really solid because she has such good backline access. If she dives into the enemy team, he can follow up. The rest of XSV's team isn't that divey. I was actually kind of worried that Galio might not have great ult targets because I feel like he either likes to, play counter dive with the ult or follow up on a big diver. But yeah, if Hamonkarn can hit ults like that, I think
I think we may have had a reverse of what happened last time, because I don't know if Frida Potatoes cut out, but continuing on his point of the Galio Hero's entrance onto the... Oh, wait. You're back?
I am here. But
oh my gosh. our ISPs hate us today, man.
That's just how
it be. Yeah. Either way, good to have you back, Freedom Potatoes. But yeah, I was just continuing on your point of the follow-up of Argo the Radis coming through. But speaking of follow-up, will be the Chains of Corruptions hitting My Team is Muted, but from full health at distance, not really one you could really follow up on there in the bottom lane 2v2.
We were expecting this to go pretty favorably for XSV's bottom lane, but Elysium has the resource advantage in health and mana right now. And they've got the Cull on My Team is Muted to kind of keep stacking that gold up for the late game. So I think they're pretty happy with how things have played out so far, in that side of the early game. Now, XSV does have the kill on their top and jungle that Elysium is going to have to watch out for. But yeah, the gold playing pretty even. Grubs are spawning now, and Hamonkarn is instantly on those. Duddy Brains might be able to respond, but there's not a lot of prio from his laners.
Yeah, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't know how valuable grubs really are these days with the free demolishes that stack up. I should remember the name of the turret. It's called it's not called rust. Something. Either way, the point is you get bonus damage on the turrets in here. Before we get to that, Aquafelis in trouble, hit by the public execution. It's a second kill for Hamonkarn.
Yeah, these Ambessa ults are getting massive value. XSV has already gotten the dragon and the grubs.
Gank will come from Duddy Brains into the top lane, targeting Imp. Daro is going to go mega very soon, hit back by the Q3 of Imp, but he is out of there. He has good enough distance to his tower that Daro and Duddy Brains back off.
Yeah, and they have to be careful, because if they go in too deep, Imp can also try to kind of insect them into the turret range and look for a solo kill, but ends up just playing it safe, burns the flash, hangs onto the ult, and is going to make it out. So yeah, kills continuing to go in XSV's favor, as have the objectives.
Sitting now with a 500 gold lead, not exactly one that is super impactful at this point in time, but it's more representative of how these kills have gone and how this early game has gone. Not a single kill or neutral objective has gone the way of Peanut Butter Jelly. And so XSV, we don't want to use that to continue to push their lead, because Sona, just scales so incredibly well, and one that if you let get a little bit too late could be very difficult to handle for XSV, especially with how little damage they have in their comp.
Yeah, that low damage could be an issue. Now, I still think the Ambessa is like a surprisingly good damage source for them, especially because she already has 2 of those kills. But the golds remained pretty even here. So Elysium going to be able to continue scaling up. And I do think the game going later should favor them a little bit. It is also going to be an on-hit Varus, it would seem. So that's going to help melt through the front line, but that's not, Elysium doesn't have a ton of frontline for the Varus to hit. So I do think the lethality could have gotten more value this game. It's hard to say, because I think on both sides, like we talked about earlier, right, the Sona can help kind of negate a lot of that poke, and then there's not a lot of people to kind of free hit as this on-hit Varus either.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough spot. I think just based on purely vibes and nothing else, I kind of would have preferred the poke Varus, because just especially early on, it would allow you to much more easily accelerate the pace of the game compared to the on-hit build. And I think as, XSV, they really should be looking to do that. But obviously, you kind of need the runes for that, and the on-hit can certainly, if given the free time for Evil Fallen, can do some crazy things, and actually will hit My Team's Muted with the ult. Public Execution comes through, and the follow-up from the hero's entrance was not really needed. Yet another kill goes the way of Hamankarn. That's his third of the game.
That is very big for XSV to get that Mbess ahead. I think she's going to be, just one-shotting people left and right here. But in the mid lane, Watercat has gotten a good amount of platings as well as a decent farm lead for himself. And, Syndra is another champion that scales ridiculously well. If she gets enough gold up over this Galio, she can still chunk through his health bar pretty effectively. So I think Elysium is going to have to look to shut down that pick as well. Hamankarn, we've seen the taunt into public execution combo that is so effective. So they have the tools to do it, but yeah, it's just going to be a question of when that comes through.
And speaking of taunts, Argo the Radis, drinking out Aquafelis a little bit, has a lot of magic resist in his inventory currently, so not really going to be worrying too much of what Watercat has to offer in that way, even though Watercat, has completed the Blackfire Torch, can probably get a lot of value from it, especially as, these teams start to group up. The fact that it scales off the amount of targets that are burning, and with how short range XSV are, going to give them that just little boost of stats that will ideally help push Elysium, PB, and J over the line.
Yeah, to the melee heavy teams, I really like the Blackfire build. You can follow it up with like a Horizon Focus or a Cosmic Drive, something that, amps your CDR even more heavily. I think that's kind of been the predominant build on Syndra as of late. She did get a little nerf to her R and her W base damage as well this patch, so going to be a little harder for her to get those free one-shots, but if she's landing her skill shots, still a force to be reckoned with.
Especially now at 3-0 is certainly going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially with how many good targets there are on Elysium PBJ's lineup to hit, whether it be Aquafelis, whether it be My Team is Muted, and even AHOP, especially later in the game. You can delete the Sona. It doesn't really matter how good this champion scales if they're not on the map to continually apply those team-wide buffs. It just simply doesn't matter at that point. Death is hard to CC, and they're going to look for some more of that in the bottom lane. The snares are going to drop down onto My Team is Muted, followed by Public Execution with nowhere to go. AHOP, the follow-up. 2 quick kills go the way of XSV, and Duddy Brains is not there in time to answer.
It feels like XSV is just one step ahead at every turn here. They're every time their ults are up, they're using them to get, basically like perfect value. Like these Chains of Corruption have consistently found their way onto this Aphelios or onto the Sona. Public Execution also feels like it's been getting kills on cooldown. And that's starting to look scary for Elysium, who haven't really found their footing yet in this game. Gold still surprisingly even at just over a 1k gold difference, but with all the gold that is there on Mbessa, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, not only that, the objectives have all gone the way of XSV. They're stacking up the Drakes. Obviously the Grubs help out a nice amount. The Rift Herald now on the map, and considering how much pressure Hamankarn can bring, sitting 4-0-1 on the Mbess, you got to feel that XSV are going to be looking to pick that one up real soon.
Yeah, I'd expect the Rift Herald to swing the way of XSV. There's also another Drake coming up in a minute and a half here. And I think, if Elysium wants to try to stop that dragon stacking from XSV, they're going to have to make some sort of move. Duddy Brains has chunked out Argo the Radis in the mid lane, which does give Elysium a bit of priority to look for this Herald maybe, but there's a TP and an ultimate available to that Galio. So if he takes the reset and comes back with those home guards, it won't be long before he's in range to influence that play.
Also been a while since he's recalled, so we'll pick up his first item as well. Just getting that much more tanky, that much harder to kill, and especially early on with how high some of Galio's base damages are. Certainly not going to be an easy target to push over.
No, he is not. There's a lot of big health bars to get through on that team. So yeah, no one has started the Herald up yet. It seems like Duddy Brains
that.
thinking about it though. Yeah, he has used the audacious charge
heard
in
ya.
there. And it seems like Hamon Karn maybe looking for a lane gank on top instead. Doesn't seem like he's expecting the Xin Zhao to be on this objective at all, because if he knew, I think he could just walk in there and kill him.
Yeah,
So he recalls. I mean, that Mbessa is up a full item over her counterpart. But yeah, that's going to be a little oopsie from the side of XSV, I think, unless they can get more value somewhere else. Maybe there's a bigger plan they have in mind. But yeah, free Rift Herald over to the side of Elysium.
Yeah, I don't even know if they really can off the recall, because the amount of times it takes for Hamon Karn to get back was the amount of time it took for Duddy Brains to be able to pick up said Rift Herald. So the amount of extra times they're going to be used, I guess it is sent to the bottom half of the map, knowing that Duddy Brains was up there on the Rift Herald to put themselves onto soul points. Duddy Brains hovering about in mid lane, potentially look for a gank onto Argo, the Radis. Justice Punch away. There's no real shot for Elysium PB&J to collapse onto that, which means Cloud Drake goes away of XSV Starfall, and they are, in fact, on soul points.
Yeah, and I mean, Elysium just has to start making some moves.
Duddy Brains caught out Jae Young with the support of his jungler. The Crescent Guard doesn't help you when you're in melee range. The tower will get him out, but he's very low and he's going to lose even more of his jungle to Hamon Karn.
Yeah, Hamon Karn. CS is actually surprisingly even in the jungle as well so far, but now Hamon Karn is going to be able to steal a lot of that away. And there's a dive coming in.
This is not ideal for My Team is Muted or Hey Hop. Shield Duran comes out, taunts both members of the Elysium PBJ bot lane. The crescendo hits its way onto everybody, and now the tower shot's dropping down. There's a potential response from Elysium PBJ. Daro teleported down. Not quite going to find a kill just yet. Finds Jae Young. Final auto attack does land its mark. Hero's entrance going to drop down onto Daro, but he hits that mega form. The taunt drop stun hits its way onto Hamon Karn. So shutdown goes the way of Aquafelis, 2 for 2, but a big shutdown gets its way onto Syndra. Scatter the Weak finds way onto Evil Fallen, but it's a good shield of Durand to prevent any sort of follow-up onto the ADC of XSV Starfall.
XSV trying to push their lead, but it feels like maybe a little too much with the 2 TPs to respond. Elysium do strike back with a few kills of their own, and yeah, you can see the initial dive looks great. Argo the Radis is so tanky, even though he's mostly itemized into MR. But Daro showing up is actually what really feels like it turns the fight here. You can see him just firing those mini autos off onto Jae Young and then following through with the flash. I lost my internet right here when this happened, so I didn't get to see it before. But
well, it's the first time for everything, but yeah.
Yeah, that But that is, yeah, I think very big for Elysium, because while the dive was happening, Watercat also got the mid lane turret down, and we went into the pause as the Herald was dropped, but they might have been able to pick up a second turret as well. It looks like, yeah, so 2 outer turrets going the way of Elysium off the back of that dive, swinging the gold into their favor. Now, XSV does have soul point, so it's not like Elysium is really firmly in the lead or anything, but looking at the kill score, you'd expect XSV to be a little more ahead.
Yeah, but Hamon Karn and Jae Young are here. Daro going to hop away from the public execution. Won't be able to follow up on that. Hamon Karn, no, I would have perhaps liked a little bit more out of that gank.
Yeah, that's probably the first public execution that we've seen miss this game. Everything else has been bullseye, getting good value, blowing flashes, or getting kills, but there's not a lot of CC to set up the public execution there. And so, yeah, Daro able to make it away pretty easily.
And she said gold lead in the side of Elysium PBJ, which this is definitely not something you see every day with the kill score and all the Drakes going the way of XSV. Down 1K, but it's just the way things go. And the thing is, a lot of that gold is
Now it sounds like you may have cut out again for me. So I think a lot of that gold is on Aquafelis in the mid lane. Is up 40 CS over his counterpart, got an entire turret's worth of gold as well. And what I think was also around for that second Herald drop. So you can see he's a full item up on the Galio there. Oh, are you back? Are you gone?
See, the craziest thing with that is that when my internet goes down like that, there's still like a 20-second period in which I could still like watch everything and hear everything, and then it's like the slow realization of what's happening before it finally goes. But luckily, It hasn't quite gone that way fully this time. And I am back and ready to go. Yeah, it was basically the points I was saying that you know really good to pick up on there. But other things to point out in that Cloud Soul that is coming up, it is spawning in under a minute. Even though Aquafelis is going to be this big point of power for Elysium PBJ, they will have to contest this one.
They are going to need to keep that Syndra alive in this fight because I think whoever gets Soul, it's not a guaranteed win, but for the side of Elysium, that is going to be crucial for kiting away from those melees. And if you're XSV, getting that Soul means very easy target access for your Mbessa, for your Cassante, and all of that is going to be very problematic for Elysium. So, yeah, Elysium showing a lot of presence in the river here. XSV contesting the mid wave a little more thoroughly. There is going to be the TP from Imp coming down as well. So yeah, I'm expecting an all-out brawl here as Daro is almost out.
From Daro as well. It'll expire now, and XSV as Drake spawns has the positioning in the river, has a control ward down to separate any sort of vision. Crescent card comes through, the pathway goes forward, and a pullback drops onto IHOP. Duddy Brains follows in short order. It's a good taunt on the shield of Durant onto two members of Elysium PBJ. Octopus is still alive, but these health bars on XSV are way too full for the side of Elysium PBJ to do much, but it doesn't look like XSV have turned onto the Drake immediately. Only Hamankarn is there. They're just going to pressure out the remaining members of Elysium, but there's no smite available to PBJ, so the Cloud Soul will go the way of XSV Starfall.
Soul sweep for XSV. And it felt like Elysium had a good position in the river, but they kind of gave it up to run into the mid lane and contest the wave. And once that happened, XSV just filled in that empty space where Elysium had been, and Elysium was not able to re-enter there. You saw as soon as Duddy Brains went in, even with the Crescent Guard, the pull in from Imp was so vital, and it caught A-Hop too, leading to a free team fight win for XSV, and then uncontested Drake take.
Yeah, and getting that Cloud Soul really helps out the likes of Imp and Hamankarn and Argo the Radis. Second you cast these ultimates, that extra burst of move speed gets so much value on these melee champs, especially when a lot of Elysium PBJ wants to kite away from them.
Yeah, and now it's just a question of, can XSV use that Soul to close things out? Because they still have not taken any turrets. So I'd expect them to have a big upper hand in any fight around this Baron, though. And once they get that, these turrets should start melting like butter. But for now, Elysium, still, despite the power of that Soul, I still think does have a chance. They just need their carries to get even stronger than they currently are, because they are struggling to get through that front line. Especially my team is muted. 0-3-0 right now. Has a good amount of farm. Is still pretty even with his counterpart on the Aphelios, but hasn't really been able to shine thus far in this first game.
Yeah, and Sid's sitting on 2 items, especially with these hyper carries. It's usually that 3-item power spike that you really start getting off the ground, especially on this Aphelios. We'll be looking to be able to pick that up as soon as possible. It'll still be a while. Only has that long sword in inventory as the component towards the 3rd item, so let's wait around. Luckily, there's over 3.5 minutes for the Elder Drake to spawn, and Baron is one that is not really easy to take these days.
It's not the easiest to take, but you can see XSV have good vision set up around it. They are just going to turn their eyes towards the mid lane turret, though. But now that some of the members of Elysium are showing up, I don't think they'll be able to finish that off. Daro shows up with the Mega, but it's just run out. And I don't play Aphelios, but I see that My Team Is Muted went for the Stormrazor first, which kind of feels like a bit more of like something you want to build into squishies compared to the Yuntal, but I don't know if you can weigh in on that.
Oh, a Justice Punch goes its way on to 2 members, and the public execution follows up. Won't quite get the damage, and actually the counter punch gets a shutdown onto Aquafelis. XSV may have pushed a little bit too far. Third and Tofo strikes, drops down onto the Water Cat, and that's a big amount of damage no longer available, but look at all the chakrams available to My Team Is Muted, flashing forward aggressively, perhaps a little bit too much, taunted up by the shield of Duran, and any damage that Elysium PBJ have is completely gone, and XSV Starfall sweep the fight.
My Team Is Muted, feeling the red, white, don't fight mantra a little bit too much maybe, gets turned on by these very tanky members. But you can see it starts off with the entry from Argo the Radis here. Elysium trying to contest around here, but yeah, the Justice Punch into the taunt on 2, followed up by that public execution, gets so much value. Huge stun from Aquafelis. Yeah, that made the fight look winnable here, but then he gets caught, and you can see the CC chain is unblockable. Then all the chakrams on My Team Is Muted, you can see, even though he doesn't have an armor penetration item yet, still does so much damage per auto, but then the flash in is a little bit too aggressive. and from there, the things just fall apart for the side of Elysium.
Yeah, and all that time going over the replay, the Baron was taken up afterwards to the side of XSV Starfall, which is to be expected when you get a team wipe like that. Daro slowly up. There we go. Triple kill for Haman Karn. Picking up that extra stat line on what has been a very impressive game for the Starfall jungler. But will get hit by the Scatter of the Week, and Jay Young chunked out immediately. And actually, I say... wait, the Baron power... Wait, what?
He is healing a lot. I think it's the red buff. No.
Look, there's the Baron power play in the top left corner for XSV Starfall, but Baron's on the map.
Wait, is that a visual bug, or did they not take Baron? Wait, no, they don't have Baron buff. They didn't do it. Wait, they wiped the other team, but they didn't do Baron. What were they doing the whole time?
Did my eyes I guess my eyes deceived me in the bottom left corner. I thought I saw them taking Baron. Anyway, well, Baron's not on the map. Or it is on the map, not in the hands of XSV. It's a good stun, dropping its way onto Argo the Radis. The Crescent Guard will keep Duddy the Brains alive a little bit longer, but does have to flash away. No ult, no flash for the Sin Shao, this main frontliner for Elysium PBJ. It's a lot of survivability in that ult for him. So it's a bit of trouble for the peanut butter jelly guys.
Yeah, the XSV, now that they have the Cloud Soul, really feels like they're driving the pace of this game.
But look, drops down onto Evil Fallen and does have the execute on the unleashed power. And so now Elysium PBJ push forward. Scatter the Week also hitting Argo the Radis. He's very tanky, so won't go down more than half health. But the Elder Drake has spawned, and it turns out the early soul is perhaps a double-edged sword for XSV Starfall. They still have their jungler. Haman Karn can try to contest. They are collapsing onto this one as quickly as possible to be able to steal this one away. 4k HP now. Haman Karn will try to find a way in. Public execution not quite finding the mark. Smite goes down. They steal it. Haman Karn gets the smite onto the Elder Drake, and that's what XSV needed to clean this fight. Ahop's doing his best to hightail it out of here, but he's going to flash immediately. But there's a collapse from Imp, who will try to get that, going to use the heal to finally escape. We're going to get a replay on that smite, on that steal from Haman Karn.
So you can see 2 whiffed ultimates here. Daro gets the mega here and tries to ult Haman Karn away right after, but yeah, misses that, and then the public execution also misses, but Haman Karn just walks in and smites it while Duddy Brains is getting jumped on by the Cassante, and once the Elder drops, whoever has that easily wins the fight. And this was a 4v5 from XSV. I mean, it was a nice pick by Elysium onto that Varus, but we know that Haman Karn is kind of the majority of the team for XSV, so they feel very confident taking that despite being down a guy.
Yeah, and now with the Elder buff and winning that fight, this time for real, XSV Starfall pick up the Baron. So the big double buffs, the game-ending the big objectives go the way of XSV Starfall. They are also up 5k gold over Elysium PBJ, and this is their moment to deny some peanut butter jelly time.
Yeah, they are going to start knocking these towers down with those buffs. Should be able to, kill anyone that walks up too far on the other side, but they don't have a ton of range damage. So the siege, when there's other players protecting those towers, is going to take a little longer than they might like. Still, I think Imp can just buy enough space for the rest of the team to do their thing, but they're playing it quite slow, honestly. I mean, the Baron still got a little over 2 minutes left on it, but I think they are going to need to move a little more decisively. They have no one down there in the bottom lane, and I think they would like to split Elysium apart as much as possible, but Jae Young has disconnected, so we are...
It's not only us. It's not only us running into issues with the ISP today. Oh, freedom potatoes. Apparently Jae Young also getting ISP ganked, IRL ganked, and so... it is what it is. We'll wait for him to come back, but while that is coming through, obviously there's the two big buffs on the side of XSV Starfall. We are definitely going to be looking for XSV Starfall to start up a fight, to start that game-winning fight, especially with Haman Karn 10-1-6 on the Mbessa.
Massive performance from Haman Karn, but with the current state of the map, I don't know if XSV can actually end with these so-called game-ending buffs. I mean, there's just a lot of turrets for them to chew through, and there's decent wave clear on the side of Elysium. So unless Elysium takes a fight or XSV can force a fight, Elysium might be able to hold on, maybe drop some turrets, maybe even lose a couple inhibitors, but I would actually be a little surprised if the Nexus goes down here and now, unless someone, takes a major leap from either side.
And that is typically what you are looking for when you have the Elder buff. It is the one that you see end fight. Unfortunately, I don't think we have vision on what guns My Team Is Muted has. That could definitely impact things quite a bit in terms of wave clear or fighting potential, because we saw the classic red-white don't fight, and even though My Team Is Muted flashed in on that last one, he was still definitely putting out some decent numbers. Hasn't quite finished that third item just yet. We see Jae Young has gotten back into the game, so this pause should be expiring relatively soon. Feed 'em potatoes.
That's good to hear. We're not going to be stuck here forever, but yeah, it'll be I mean, and going back to that earlier play, I feel like XSV actually really respected that red-white don't fight thing. They were running away from My Team Is Muted, and he was trying to force the issue, but it's you can't do it all on your own. Okay, so we are back in the game now. Here we go.
All right, we saw a Scout of the Week landing its mark, or not quite. The Defector Camp should eventually take over. There we go, and we are fully back with the back into the full screen. We'll get the full presented action available to us. We'll inevitably have that slight stutter after the pause at some point, but XSV Starfall, there it is, pushing into the waves at the mid tower of Elysium PBJ, but My Team Is Muted, importantly, does have the blue gun in hand. Can clear out those waves quite a bit. Tier 2 is one that you can definitely sack at this point in time, especially with those double buffs. The Elder buff available to the side of XSV, but Elysium still holding on.
And there's not much longer on the Elder buff. Or wait, has it already expired? It doesn't look like they have that anymore.
Oh, right? It's hard to tell. It's one of those where it's like a
I mean, it went down like what 2 minutes 40. Yeah. It's already
it's down.
So
it is.
It's just going to be the inner turrets taken by XSV for now, and a whole lot of the enemy jungle. Duddy Brain's really, really feeling the counter jungling here. He is down 1.5 items on Haman Karn, and it's going to struggle to make up that difference. The level is also for XSV very favorable in a lot of these matchups. Imp level 19, Haman Karn at 17 over Duddy Brains is 15. Mid lane, I think Aquafelis is actually up a little bit, but yeah, the gold and XP generally favoring XSV here. With no major objectives, we'll see if they can continue to siege, or if this is actually going to be a window where Elysium can try to recuperate a little bit of that lost gold, because Baron also should be running out momentarily here. Just a few more seconds on it, but I think there's time to take this inner turret.
Yeah, when we pushed fully into their own base on the side of Peanut Butter Jelly. But the Baron, as you mentioned, should be coming down anytime soon. Scatherwick finds way to Hamankarn. Children not quite finding any taunt in response. So no kills go either way just yet, but the Baron just expired. So any extra pushing power that XSV had available to them is gone with it. We sit around for another minute and 45 seconds for the Elder Drake to spawn once again.
Aquafilas actually used the ult on Hamankarn there, but the entirety of the damage was absorbed by a Mantra shield from Jae Young. That's the lesson for Karma players is just that once you hit late game, just like unbind the Q key and like obviously the W key too. Just push RE. Just push RE. Don't use any of the other ults and very selective exceptions, but the Mantra shield value is just ludicrous when your team is grouped. And yeah, it ate the entire Syndra ult there.
Yeah, especially with how like support items are these days as well. The amount of like bonus shielding and healing if you are a champion that heals that you get it's kind of ridiculous if I'm being completely honest. And how quickly you can get to those points leans towards more enchanters getting picked in general. More so than the tanky counterparts, but not completely out. But speaking of other things, my team is muted, has hit 3.5 items, so will be doing a bit of damage himself. Picking up that LDR will help to cut through these big front lines. Daro getting a little bit dangerously close, not quite pushing his luck just there. No extra CC, but yeah, the LDR available to my team is muted.
Yeah, but look at Argo the Radis's items. He's got a frozen heart now, and that is going to make him very hard to take down for this Aphelios. Just getting a lot of value. Even helps protect other members of the team. Nice stun from Aquafilas, but they don't have priority for this.
Yeah, and the Elder Drake has spawned now. Can be started at any point by the side of XSV. They do have positioning in the river, but PBJ have fully pushed in. They've passed that lane bush. Daro jumping forward. Hamankarn just waiting in the wings for public execution. That does not land. Scad the Weak finds its way onto multiple members. Encore, not the Encore, that's a Seraphine ult, but either way, Ahop's gone low, and now there's no smite for Duddy Brains. He's killed. Hamankarn getting the kill onto Ahop. 3, now 4 the way of XSV, but my team is muted, is the only one left. He's got the chakrams, but it won't quite matter. The ace goes the way of XSV. Starfall, they only lose Argo the Radis. They have the push in mid and bots, and they will take game 1.
And my team is muted actually lost the white gun as he walked into the bush with Ambessa there. It switched to green purple, and so that's not exactly the ideal guns you want for a close range fight. If he still had those chakrams, maybe he could have gotten the 1 extra kill. Probably wouldn't have saved the game, but would have felt good to get that big shutdown, boost your stats a little bit. But it is going to be XSV Starfall claiming the win here. Don't even need the Elder or the Baron to do it, it turns out.
Yeah, and when you get a team fight like that, definitely is the signal to in which they will do. Very well done by XSV Starfall. They were in control for large portions of that game, and Hamankarn specifically. What a performance from him.
Hamankarn, definitely the player to watch in this game. Maybe the player to watch in next game. Well, I mean, we'll see if Duddy Brains can turn it around, but that felt like a massive gap in the jungle. Ambessa was just everywhere in the early game. Not traditionally someone I think of as, like a ganking jungler, but just every time the public execution was up, we were seeing it. People were getting publicly executed right in front of everyone watching the stream.
Yeah, and there was so much follow-up with that, like hefty amount of CC as well from the Galio being able to use the hero's entrance to follow up. There were a few times where like Duddy Brains, or I think it was also Ahop and my team is muted, they were hit by one ability, and then it was the Galio ult, and then it was the Chains of Corruptions, and then you watch the health bar, it's like they don't have a lot of damage, but also you can't move for 10 seconds, and then you're just stand helplessly as your health bar disappears, and it felt really rough on the side of Elysium PBJ running into that.
I feel like another struggle for Elysium PB&J was the rage management from Daro on the Gnar. There were several team fights where you could see they wanted to take the fight, but there was like just like 20% of a rage bar left on that Mega Gnar, and when that runs out, that just gives the signal for XSV to go in, or at least take space, because they don't have to worry about that big AoE CC. So yeah, that was something that I noticed happening a lot in their fights there.
Well, we'll have to see what Elysium PBJ do to respond in Game 2. These champs won't be available as it is a Fearless series. So we'll see how these two teams adjust for that game. But when we come back, we'll be bringing that to you. So don't go anywhere. We'll be seeing you in a few moments. Welcome back, everyone, for some more Titan Conqueror League action. XSV Starfall taking game 1 in pretty convincing fashion off of a lot of the early plays from Hamancar and Freedom Potatoes. We saw a few of those bans go his way, all 3, the first round. And we saw why that was the case.
Yeah, I mean, that was a devastating performance from the jungle Ambessa. Absolute domination over the entire game from start to finish, really. Even with the 3 bans thrown at him, he could not be stopped. And I mean, and that's on a nerfed Ambessa, by the way. She got her jungle clear nerfed a little bit this patch, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, that speaks to how, that performance even more. But, you know, that champ will be gone. So maybe with two more junglers taken off the table thanks to Fearless, maybe finally Hamancar will be shut down.
Let's wait and see. We should be getting into draft any moment. Does look like Argo the Radis will still be in for game 2 for XSV Starfall. Aquafelis, we do know that they will be in here for the full time, and we do want to point out that the Argo the Radis staying in because last week Jae Young did eventually come back in for XSV Starfall, having missed the first 2 games in that one.
Gotcha. Yeah, two subs in the mid lane this series. I mean, at least it's fair. I feel like sometimes, especially in like a high stakes series like this, if you have one team having a sub and the other doesn't, that can, there are some question marks about, was it really a fair fight? But I feel like with 2 subs, you can relax a little bit, But teams have switched sides. It looks like we're still seeing that fiddle ban come through. Terrifying champion, and one that's really game warping. If you haven't played against it a lot, like, sure, there are things you can do against it, but if you're not used to doing those things and adjusting your game plan as a team, it can really throw you off tempo and ruin your night.
Yeah, and it's also not one that you can easily just be like, well, we're blue side now, so we'll first pick it, because
not everyone plays
it. Not everyone plays it. It's also not particularly the most meta champion right now, and it's also a very different play style than how most junglers go through. So it's one that you just kind of have to force the ban away. Ban staying relatively the same. I don't think was it Zahid? I don't think so.
It was a different jungler
somebody
last
else.
Time, but
which, considering Elysium had obviously wasn't Xinjiao because that was picked.
It was Wukong. I think it was the
it was the Wukong. Which does make sense. That's the obvious implication if you ban something different is as you move to blue side is that you first pick it, and Wukong is one of those junglers that maybe not as powerful as he was last year because there aren't as many objectives to fight over, but is still a very potent jungler.
Very reliable engage. Pretty decent clear, can duel enemy champions pretty well. Shreds armor for your other AD damage dealers. But it's going to be a Volibear picked by XSV. Probably in the jungle, but can also go top.
Just give you that extra flexibility, but the Yanara is not one that's particularly all that flexible. And Yanara, Smolder, 2 of these newer ADCs that scale relatively well, and notoriously that 225 stack mark on the Smolder is one that you always got to look out for.
We saw Elysium, even in the face of a very fed Ambessa, were able to stall the game out for quite a while in the previous one. So maybe if, even if things don't go according to plan early game, they do have that Smolder as an insurance policy and a lot of CC to help set them up to deal those AoE nukes. But there's been a Nautilus picked up on the side of XSV that can hook that Rakan out of some of his mobility, has a lot of threat on his Smolder with the depth charge as well. So something to watch out for sure.
Yeah, but I do think with Nautilus these days, I remember it was way back when they hyper over buffed him in it was like 2019-ish. And then he's ever been a staple in the support role ever since, but they've kind of nerfed him back down to the levels that he was before those insane giga buffs. And it kind of falls in the same role that Nautilus did before those buffs, where he's kind of squishy if you don't get ahead on him.
Yeah, a lot of times you make the engage, and if you hit the right target, your team wins the fight. If you hit the wrong target, you go down, and you kind of look like a fool. It's going to be bans towards the mid lane from XSV, bans towards the top side from Elysium, and Victor is grabbed up for Argo the Radis. And we'll see what they give over to Aquafelis. It's going to be a Scion, so big tanky champion up in the top lane for Daro. Kind of surprised they banned other tanks away instead of some of those, tank killers like Gwen. I don't know if Imp plays Gwen actually. No, he plays Gwen. He plays Mordekaiser. Those are like champions that I think can do decent in that matchup. But Orianna going to be the next pairing for the side of Elysium. And yeah, there is going to be the Gwen locked in.
Yeah.
Should be able to shred through the Scion, but early game Scion is not to be scoffed at. If he has a lot of damage and very solid wave clear as well. So if he can get control over the lane, he can delay that period at which Gwen starts really beating him in the 1v1 quite a bit. And having access to CC helps you set up for ganks and stuff like that as well. So, it still could be okay for Daro in the top lane. And then they've got a lot of AoE CC to set up the Orianna shockwaves as well. But there's not too many easy targets to hit with that. Gwen can be immune. Eventually, Volibear and the Nautilus are both going to be pretty tanky. So they are going to be looking to target the Victor and the Inara. I mean, if Victor gets Rod of Ages, he also can be pretty tough to take out. But yeah, any thoughts on who you favor with this draft this time around?
I think also circling back to the Gwen for Imp is that I'm not really sure who on Elysium as this game goes on can really answer. Oh wait, never mind. It's Gwen Jung. Oh.
Interesting. I mean, Volibear can also kind of drain tank off.
I guess
the Volibear can kind of drain tank off of Scion, and so maybe I haven't seen too much volley top recently, but I know he can go there, so that'll be interesting. And I feel like Gwen can kind of dodge losing matchups in the jungle. I don't even know if she goes to Wukong per se. I feel like that's a bit of a skill matchup, I would think. But
yeah, but it just feels really weird, right? Because Gwen is that classic counter matchup, or maybe actually I say classic. How old is Gwen? This is where I always run it. Hold on, let me look at that, because my sense of time ever since 2020 has been skewed so awfully. When did Gwen release?
Yeah.
Gwen lol. Hold on. Let me check for sure before I call it a classic. It was. That's not the wiki. That's the League of Legends page. Either way, it's been a decent amount of time since Gwen's been around, and so I think it's pretty fair to see it called as a classic. But
my win rate data that I have pulled up says that she is second worst matchup for Scion. So it's different. It will vary a bit by site, but I'm surprised they didn't take that matchup for her. Basically.
Yeah, either way, we'll see how the Volibear matchup actually plays out, because we are ready to go here in game 2. We are, I think now with that swap around for Imp and Hamankarn, my eyes weren't. I mean, they were obviously drawn to the counter matchup because Gwen v Scion is the thing. But now it's like Hamankarn. I guess Gwen is a kind of Hamankarn champ, and I know Imp's more known for playing the tank. So I guess stylistically for these two players, it makes a little bit of sense. But it's still one that definitely is a good curveball that got me for sure.
Yeah, I mean but Hamankarn had a massive pop-off performance last game, so maybe we just got to trust in him to deliver again this game. But either way, we are, we have minion waves showing up, and yeah, going back to the team comps, I think blue side has a little bit more CC kind of across the team. They have a lot of that with the Rakan, Orianna, Wukong, Scion. All of those can provide kind of a playground for the Smolder to do his thing in team fights if they get to that phase. But I feel like I don't know, on paper I kind of like the Elysium team comp, although I think they will struggle to deal with Gwen pretty mightily later into the game.
Yeah, it's especially when she gets 3 items and levels under her belt. It's definitely terrifying if you are Elysium PPJ, but that is a while, and they do have, whoa, my team is muted, and A-Hop not taking good trains down there at level 1, getting pushed out by Jay Young and Evil Fall, and now we'll just have to sack pressure for a bit.
Yeah, Flash burnt by A-Hop. Unite also burnt by Jay Young, but he'll be happy to trade those spells, because if he hits another hook on either of these players, it's going to be probably a trip back to the fountain, whether that's by recalling or by.
And my team is muted, is in a troublesome spot, going to flash away, but it's an easy dredge line follow up. One more artifact's all they need. First blood goes the way of Evil Fallen, but the extra tower shot does trade it back to AHOP.
And that's going to be a lot of farm missed by the Smolder. Still don't know if Evil Fallen had to die there per se, but the Rakan is the one who picks up that trade kill, so XSV going to be pretty happy with that. Yeah, we get to just see a quick little replay of that. And my team is muted, getting very aggressive into Evil Fallen, trying to fight him in his minion wave, but Nautilus kind of just waits for Smolder to eventually have to walk out, and that's the unmissable dredge line, really.
Yeah, it's when you're up against the wall like that. There's the ones are so easy to land because the guy can't dodge either way. There's only one way to go, so you throw it up against like that parallel side, and then it's an easy follow-up. And with the Nautilus passive that before we get to that, Grand Entrance finds way onto Evil Fallen. My team is muted, picks up that kill. Haman Karn has arrived to counter gank. AHOP is quite low, flashing forward, gets the stare onto my team is muted, who wants to flap away. AHOP now the target of Haman Karn. One auto attack is all Haman Karn needs. Snip won't quite get Duddy Brains down towards lethal, so it'll be yet another 1-for-1 trade of kills here in the bottom lane.
Pretty nice for Elysium that they get a kill on the Smolder, but we've seen how Haman Karn can take over these games. He's got himself already 9 CS up over the Wukong and a kill in his pockets. And with the Dark Seal purchase, that is going to start stacking up even quicker. So Gwen already looking like she might be a problem.
Yeah, and especially when you start to accelerate things, becomes nigh on untenable, especially with what we saw from Haman Karn in game 1 is definitely where it definitely starts ringing alarm bells, at least as a viewer who can allow those alarm bells to ring. Obviously, you don't want to necessarily panic too much if you are on the side of Elysium PBJ. There's still plenty of time, and you lock in, but definitely for us, it's scary.
Yeah, it is scary. They've got Aquafilas actually had to flash just a bit ago, presumably just almost getting solo killed by Argo the Radis, who has stayed on low HP and low mana, which while he has a big wave, or no, it's no longer a big wave, never mind, but he's going to be sticking around and taking that reset a little bit later, maybe trying to use a cannon wave. Has to be careful that he doesn't eat another one of those QW combos, but should be able to safely get back. And because it's a cannon wave, Aquafilas is going to struggle to crash this into the turret and deny the farm. But the dragon has spawned, which means if Elysium is on top of their game, they might be able to use this priority in the mid lane to set something up there. But
like
down in the bot lane, though, XSV has all the prio.
Does look like they are attempting to do just that. AHOP's waiting around in the banana bush, hoping to find perhaps either Haman Karn or rotating Argo the Radis. Essentially moves away now. We see Shockwave lands way onto Argo, going to flash immediately in response. Where auto attack is all that's needed, but Duddy Brains gets stunned under tower and is also blinking very low on the health bar. The shield will come down. Command protect, keeping him healthy, getting that extra move speed, but no flash, and 5 HP on Duddy Brains means that Dragon is in the hands of XSV Starfall.
That dragon, going to be another first dragon claimed by XSV. It was looking good in the mid lane, but
wait, no, they were calling.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, they're not going to do it. The Duddy Brains is just going to farm up a little bit, and yeah, that's one of those plays where if your jungler dies after flashing into the Victor's gravity field, you are just raging as a mid laner. Luckily for Elysium, that did not happen. But it was darn close, mere pixels away from Haman Karn getting a freebie on the back end of that play. But yeah, in the end, nothing really resulting out of that aside from those flashes and ults being expended.
Yeah, but the flash is a big one that won't be available for Duddy Brains. He has hit the level 6 now, will have access to the Cyclone. Is definitely a very big one. Yep. We'll try to get a lane gank off. It's one that you can definitely find out. Hook goes in from Jae Young. Duddy Brains still staying around behind. AHOP uses Grand Entrance back in. But Duddy Brain's just a little bit too far away to truly follow up on it.
Yeah, not sure if he was clearing out a ward or just making sure those bushes were clear, but I thought that looked like a great bait for a second, and then he ended up not being quite in range to make use of it. Now, it doesn't look like Elysium has spotted out Karn's position. If they knew that Gwen was up on those Krugs, I think they would. That would. Okay, they started the dragon now. I thought they might be hesitating a little bit, but with the chunk on Jaeyoung that they got, they are easily going to grab this. That'll be nice for them to start things off, not getting dragon stacked against them.
Yeah, but it did take Duddy Brains a lot of time in like the bottom lane to be able to move over, to be able to pick up that first Drake. He is quite a bit down on farm as a result. He has all those top side camps back up and ready to go, but they were waiting for him for a while, so delays himself a little bit to get the rest of his team an advantage.
Yeah, and I mean the Smolder is now has only one death to Yanara's 2, is up a little bit of CS, and Yanara's not exactly a fantastic early game champion either, but still, that is going to be nice for the Smolder to be able to continue stacking up and not have to worry about, completely losing priority and losing all of those Drakes. But yeah, the carry jungler being up over 20 CS is an issue that Elysium is going to have to find an answer for, but if you can't just find the Gwen in her own jungle and kill her.
Flash forward from Jaeyoung, gets the dredge line and the depth charge. There's nowhere to go when you're targeted by that much CC. Aquafelis getting removed from the map. And all the while, that does mean Duddy Brains didn't fully pick up those grubs. We'll probably trade one back 2-for-1 the way of Elysium PBJ.
Old lead, small but existent for XSV. Elysium does have a little bit of a lead in those objectives, though. And XSV just playing really decisively around their summoner spell and ultimate cooldowns once again. That flash was down on Jaeyoung just like a minute ago, and as soon as it comes up, he makes that roam to the mid lane to take advantage of Aquafelis still being down the flash. And
grand entrance hits its way onto Evil Fallen. It's quite a distance away from my team is muted. Jaeyoung was also eventually arriving, followed up shortly by Karn. Doesn't have access to the needlework. Grand Entrance going to dodge out the dredge line, and now Evil Fallen, who's exhausted, will eventually have that expired. The battle dance gets a hop away. Flap will go through. Flashing away is a hop, but the hook finds its way onto my team is muted. Another battle dance will try to save a hop. Now we'll get that kill, but they are under town. Karn goes down with no extra wave to help him out. It's a trade for 1-for-1 on the gank of XSV, but the hook lands from Jaeyoung, and Evil Fallen will pick up the kill as a response. Luckily, the tower shot did come through to be able to trade that back into the hands of my team is muted.
Yeah, 2 for 2 while getting ganked is not too bad, all things considered. Now, Smolder is going to lose a lot.
Move to the mid lane. The gank comes through. Duddy Brains knows that Karn isn't there to answer. We go straight to the top lane. Imp is very low, but will bring the storm. Won't matter. One more decimating sash is all Darrow needs to secure that kill, and will be sent to the zombie form with the extra tower shot.
And so far, this lane's been going pretty nicely for the Scion, much more than I expected anyway. But Elysium taking a decent position. I mean, really, things are dead even right now. Outside of those 2 neutral objectives Elysium was able to get. Also, if my team is muted, I would be kind of raging at my support for
I don't know.
Away, so
I don't know why we went to replay there, because we got action going down live. A gank coming through. We'll eventually see it now. Duddy Brains gets that first kill. Doesn't have access to the Cyclone, but Jaeyoung will use the dredge line onto his own tower to escape. We didn't quite get to see all of that. There's just so many fights going down. Replay got cut off in short order, but with that going there, we might be able to get one. We're getting word, though, from Shirogan behind the scenes that we're just not going to get any replays. We've been bitten one too many times with how many kills have gone down. We're at over a kill minute here in game 2.
Jaeyoung is not stopping looking for these hooks despite his low health bar. You can see he's trying to find that angle around the
because he does have a lane gank coming through from Karn. Needlework drops down onto my team is muted, who will snip away, but there's just so many snows from Evil Fallen and Karn. But Mom will be called, finds the kill onto Jaeyoung. So with the lane gank, yet another time, another kill goes away of my team is muted despite being outnumbered.
And it's a bit of an overstay potentially from the Elysium bot lane. I think they could have taken a reset just spent that gold that they had already earned. But getting another kill onto the Smolder is never a bad feeling. But it will cost them some priority in the bottom lane, and there is a Drake spawning in 30 seconds. Now, Evil Fallen, I think, has a decent amount of gold to spend too, so that might actually put them a little behind on tempo for the Drake. We'll see how this ends up playing out.
You see him moving back now. Will likely hit the B key. He's kind of just dangling around a little bit over there, but with 10 seconds up, it doesn't look like they're deciding to stay, won't opt to spin. That gold is sitting on the Yuntal Wild Arrows as a first item, but usually need 3 to fully go down. Argo the Radis, the target of Duddy Brains, will hold on to that Cyclone, so won't continue to try to find that kill. Battle Dance will come through. Grand Entrance hits its way onto 2. The follow-up Cyclone, and from downtown, the Unstoppable Onslaught sets up Aquafelis with a double kill on the Shockwave.
And Daro showing up is, very influential in the fight, but it was looking good for Elysium all around. They just had the pinch on the other team. Jaeyoung hooks A-Hop into his team a little bit with the Grand Entrance on, Quickness, sorry. The Quickness, and then once Haman Karn gets locked down, he wasn't able to really get all the damage he wanted to done while he was in that Hallowed Mist. It was kind of just protecting some damage, but yeah, not able to get as much done on the Gwen as he would like. We are seeing these two Dusk and Dawns completed for the top and jungle on the side of XSV. Still a very strong item despite getting a little bit of a nerf on a previous patch. But I think, for the first time we can say that Elysium is really taking the lead here.
Yeah, up just under 2k gold their way, a decent amount of which will be in the hands of Aquafelis, and no doubt with the amount of kills that My Team Is Muted has will be there for the Smolder, who I don't think has hit that 225 mark yet, but Jaeyoung walking forward, getting very aggressive with his positioning, holding on to that dredge line for quite a while, trying to find an angle onto My Team Is Muted. Uses it now, only hooks A-Hop. Grand Entrance comes through, lands a knock-up only onto Jaeyoung. Both supports kind of just feeling touchy-feeling here, but Haman Karn is rolling down, will arrive for a gank from behind. There is a control ward there, won't matter. Depth charge goes its way down onto My Team Is Muted, who will flap away the swiftness and the Grand Entrance, more like an exit, but it tags Haman Karn and ensures My Team Is Muted. A-Hop goes away, flash forward from Jaeyoung to try to its way onto A-Hop, who will go back in with Grand Entrance, flash away, Meteor, Aquafelis getting the kill, Shockwave going to be targeting Evil Fallen as well, so another 2 kills picked up by Peanutbutter Jelly.
There's something about Smolder that I feel like just makes teams lose their mind. It's kind of like the Teemo Global Taunt meme from back in the day. Like, they see Smolder, they're like, we have to kill him, and they will just throw everything at this champion to try to deny him the stacking, which makes sense. He's a monster when he gets to scale. But with the flashes burnt, Elysium was able to get out pretty comfortably, and yet XSV kind of continued to force the issue, and it came back to bite them pretty hard there. As in Smolder now has 5 kills. Oriana for Aquafelis also 4-1. I mean, this game state is looking a lot rougher for XSV.
Yeah, Elysium Peanutbutter Jelly doing really well so far. And I mean, look at the damage from Aquafelis, chugging out Argo the Radis with just 1 spell rotation, gets him sub 50% HP. And it's going to be one that's really tough to deal with. Aquafelis pushing things out, especially now with the Rift Herald up and available, will make a response from Starfall just that much more difficult.
Aquafelis has also taken a lot of the turret platings here, kind of taking advantage of the fact that neither Gwen nor Victor really has the CC set up for a gank. He can play kind of aggressively and just try to bully Victor as much as possible. Also, Argo the Radis going for the Blackfire Torch. I don't hate it. It's a good item on Victor, but I think when you're into something like the Wukong and Oriana combo, you do kind of want a little bit of that extra tankiness so that you don't just get one shot before you can do anything. So I think he has kind of been feeling that in some of the ganks that have come through.
Yeah, now Aquafelis picking up the first tower of the game. A-Hop now arriving in the bottom lane. Depth charge drops its way onto the Smolder. Evil Fallen will transcend oneself, but it's a good swiftness to knock up Haman Karn, stop the advance, and with the protection of the tier 2 tower, XSV Starfall will not pick up the kill they were looking for onto the dragon.
Yeah, they don't get the smolder, but they are going to deny him a lot of farm, and they are going to take that turret as well. But Aquafields already got the mid turret, and the Rift Herald was picked up by Duddy Brains at the same time. So nice trade. Still overall in favor of Elysium, peanut butter jelly, I would say. But I like the proactivity that XSV Starfall was showing there. It just didn't quite play out in the way they needed it to there.
Yeah, and actually, if we like rewind back a little bit further, it was very good awareness from My Team Is Muted to recognize what was happening, knowing that his team was on the top half of the map, sniffed out with the spidey senses that Haman Karn could have been on the bottom half of the map and was in fact there, just completely retreated away from that tier 1 tower, didn't get killed in the process, didn't give that extra little bit of gold to the side of XSV Starfall. So, you know, just playing very respectfully on this Smolder and ensuring that his lead isn't handed back over.
Yeah, knowing the meaning of the word respect. Oh, hold on.
Shockwave goes on to Argo. The Radis completely unsupported. Duddy Brains will be the ones to get the clear, and the Cyclone's coming through. Finds the knockups onto everyone. Mom is called. Haman Karn escaping as quickly as possible, but Evil Fall and Haman Karn are way too low to help out their support of Jay Young. My Team Is Muted picks up his 6th kill of the game.
Elysium continuing to crumble a little bit. XSV. Sorry, I might have said the wrong one, but it's a big team fight in the mid lane. You know, a lot of people don't expect to just get solo ulted by Ori. I think that Aquafelis' ult only hit the Victor there, and a lot of people kind of think, oh, the ball's there. I would never get solo ulted, but you will, and you will die for it, and then the rest of your team also dies. So yeah, Elysium Peanut Butter Jelly going to give themselves that 3rd Drake, going for a clean soul sweep of their own. They're also able to get a lot of value out of that Rift Herald in the mid lane, taking down that inner turret and getting a few plates off of that inhibitor turret as well. And you can see My Team Is Muted is doing so much damage on the Smolder. Might be an attempt at a punish from XSV here, but I mean, the wave clear is just so strong.
Yep, My Team Is Muted completely deletes all the minions, and any hope that XSV Starfall were looking at for the kill onto the Smolder completely goes, and all the while in the top and bottom lanes, the towers fall the way of Elysium. PBJ getting himself that little bit more gold, now sitting up 7k, or well, 7.5k more correctly. Argo the Radis percepts a bit too close to Aquafelis, looking for the solo kill, will get it. So far ahead on this Orianna 5, 1, and 3.
That Shadow Flame just helping to finish off those kills so much. And yeah, it's hard to play into the Orianna when she has ult up, because if she plays her combos right, she can just keep you in range for all of that follow-up damage. So really nice play by Aquafelis in game number 2 here. Has been really performing solidly for Elysium in the series.
Yeah, and I mean, even in their loss in game 1 was definitely the point of pressure that PBJ were looking for to be able to turn that game around. Has kept up that set performance here in game 2. And I mean, if you are looking for a support mid laner or a substitute mid laner, mind you, I mean, Watercat's certainly probably one of the best you can get on hand.
Yeah, I think he was starting for a team last split, if I'm not mistaken, but it is a sub this time around. You know, sometimes people's schedules just make it so they can't start, even if they are, you know, highly skilled players. But yeah, looking back at the map now, we've got 3 minutes till that next Drake is up. Baron already live on the map, but I don't know if anyone's going to be quite looking for that yet. There's a lot of AoE damage on both sides that's going to make it kind of tough to fight it out if you do have that Baron debuff on you for a fight. Looks like XSV could be looking for a play top towards Zaro. No, never mind. It's going to be called off. And you can also see that Imp does have the Navori Quick Blades completed now. He is able to deal a lot more damage.
Aquafelis hit by the needlework, going to be slowed, going to be the target of the snip, but Duddy Brains has arrived. Will use the command protect on himself too. Jumping out the grand entrance with the swiftness, sets up the kill for Duddy Brains, and though it looked like Aquafelis had been picked off, he barely escapes, and the counterpunch from Elysium PB&J gets him yet another 2 kills.
Duddy Brains feeling some, vengeance for what happened in game number 1, getting the double kill there onto the enemy mid jungle, saving his mid laner, just shows up, just in the nick of time. And Orianna can be, really slippery if you use that shockwave well. You can peel for yourself a little bit by
Imp, though, it's gone very low, will bring the storm, but we look back, my team is muted, gets the kill onto Evil Fallen, and now Jae Young doing his best to try to save his ADC, who had already gone down, will be followed in short order. We move back to the top lane, Imp and Daro duking it out, but Daro has managed to escape, and Imp knows that the rest of Elysium PBJ will be arriving. Duddy Brains just needs a few bonks on the head to secure another kill to Elysium PBJ, and with Baron on the table, they'll move right onto it. Karn, though, is nearby.
Aquafios might walk into him, but he's 3 levels up, so I don't know how scared he is of this Gwen in this moment, to be honest. I should have seen him there.
Spot him. They spotted him for sure. They'll know Karn is in this tribe rush, will be spotted before we can even move up to the Baron. Karn going to do his best to escape. Needlework finds way onto Duddy Brains, but my team is muted with the help of the Shockwave. Gets the kill onto Karn, and with no more smite, they move back onto the Baron. This one will almost certainly go the way of Elysium PBJ, but it doesn't look like it'll go down uncontested. Evil Fallen and Jae Young, they are looking to move in the 4v5. Unstoppable Onslaught goes forward onto Jae Young to pressure out any attempt onto the Baron. Daro's so tanky, takes no damage, doesn't care that there are 3 members of XSV Starfall around, and now the collapse on Elysium PBJ will go on to Argo. The Radis Duddy Brains was low, but there's just not enough damage from this Victor just yet. And Aquafila going to find the kill onto Jae Young, but he's gone for it, and the shutdown gets his way onto Evil Fallen, getting a big injection of gold onto the Inara.
Bit of an overstep from Aquafilas there. That's just 1 kill. Oh, hold on.
And Daro a bit isolated. A few of the recalls had already gone through. Snip on the middle is still very tanky. Stun drops now. Another snip will snip down the health bar of Daro. He eventually goes down, but not without A-Hop and Duddy Brains arriving. The Cyclone is unavailable, so Elysium PBJ won't look to avenge their top laner.
Yeah, just a bit desynced on the side of Elysium PB and J. They, some of them are resetting.
My team is muted, has hit the 225 stack mark. Drake is on the table, but Imp and Karn are very low. They do have 2 kills. They do have the numbers advantage. The Drake is burning down. Duddy Brains gets in, but won't quite seal it away this time around, but the follow-up fight will follow through. My team is muted, gets the execute down, and another 2 triple kill goes the way of my team is muted. And Duddy Brains will get that extra kill to prevent the Quadra, prevent the Penta, and it doesn't look like Jae Young had any interest of trying to take on a 1v5.
My team is muted is just so huge. He can kind of play like his team is muted, just walk in, start hitting people. He doesn't care that it's a 3v4, soon to be 3v5. They win that fight very convincingly with Smolder just cleaning up those low health bars, and so yes, XSV does stop the soul stacking, but they are going to lose a lot of their base for it. That's 3 turrets going down now, and should be these 2 inhibitors as well. I don't think Elysium will be able to end quite yet, but
probably not. Imp and Karn are responding in 2 seconds. Jae Young pressing forward, trying to find a few stragglers who stay a little bit too long on the side of Elysium, but with the empowered recalls, doesn't look like there'll be much of an option for him there.
The rest of Elysium should try to take these resets here. I don't really know what they're staying on the map for. I guess just trying to find a safe place to back. But yeah, Elysium did nearly get punished for some desynced recalls. They're losing their mid and top, who gave over sizable shutdowns to the enemy team. You can see that Evil Fallen on the Yanara does have 3 items complete now. Not too far behind the Smolder, strictly in terms of items, but I mean, that 4th item is still very valuable for the Smolder, and so much of his strength comes from that passive as well. So,
yeah,
he's 2 levels, or okay, just 1 level up now that even Evil Fallen got that. But I would still say Smolder is very, very ahead. But just looking at the items, you can't tell as much.
Yeah, but what you can tell is that when you look up to the top of your screen, you see 26-9 favor of Elysium PBJ, as well as a 10k gold lead, slightly over 10k actually. Is one that's a bit untenable, and now Karn within the target of Elysium PBJ. The Cyclone drops onto him. Shockwave does so much damage, and the follow-up comes through, but Argo the Radis is able to chunk out a little bit, but not quite enough because it's a triple kill to the side of Elysium PBJ going into the hands of My Team Is Muted. And so they push in the top lane tier 2. They'll look for a bit more. Luckily, Argo the Radis does have a decent amount of wave clear to try to prevent this push from Elysium PBJ. Decimating Smash finds its way onto 2. Argo the Radis doing his best at range to drop as much damage as possible, but with the push in mid and bot, PBJ are on these Nexus towers. They go forward, they find Argo the Radis, and that's all the wave clear that XSV have, and that's all the hope they have left here in game 2. The respawns will come through. Evil Fallen will do his best to try to end, but he's too squishy, and a few more kills go the way of Elysium PBJ to stab the Pats before they send us to game 3.
And that is just all of Elysium PB&J showing up in a big way, I would say. That really felt like a whole team effort, you know, arguably a more convincing victory here in game number 2 than that first one was for the side of XSV. I mean, My Team Is Muted, kind of a clear standout in the gold department, in the damage department, but you know, big performances out of Aquafelis, 8-2 on the Orianna, 6-0 for Duddy Brains on the Wukong, you know, having a bit of a pop-off of his own. And even though Daro's scoreline isn't necessarily super impressive, I thought he still navigated that Volibear matchup really well, was able to kind of shut down what could have been a very, you know, I think that matchup eventually gets pretty rough for the Scion, but it didn't look like it there. Yeah,
it's just generally a comprehensive performance from Elysium PBJ. And I mean, there's not much more in there. Obviously, Evil Fallen, the star of that one. I don't think we could really take that away. But yeah, I don't really. No, go ahead.
I was saying, I forgot to mention Ahop. I feel like Ahop also did a great job on the support. Outside of that one time he flashed and let Smolder get hit by a Nautilus hook in the early game, he was, you know, pretty consistently like tanking the Nautilus engage, or if someone else was getting hit, he would, you know, battle dance in to shield them, pop the quickness or the grand entrance to peel for them, and you know, the scoreline reflects that. 23 assists. That is a pretty nice amount.
Yeah, the large amount of kill participation in that bot lane for Elysium PBJ. Large part of the reason why they take game 2, send us to game 3, and really their performance spoke for itself. So I think with that, we're going to send it to a break, and on the other side of our momentary pause, we will be back for the final game of this series between XSV Starfall and Elysium PBJ. It's been back and forth, so you won't want to miss it. And for the final time tonight, XSV, Starfall, and Elysium Peanut Butter Jelly will be duking it out on the Rift to see who can claim victory here in this Week 3 cross-group matchup here in Titan Conqueror League. Welcome back, everyone, to what has been a topsy-turvy series so far.
Topsy-turvy and very bloody. We were seeing a lot of kills, non-stop fighting in that game. We couldn't even get into a replay half the time because it was, just non-stop action. But in the end, that game, it was Elysium, Peanut Butter, and Jelly coming out with a very convincing win.
Yeah, and, especially after that game one, it was a very good response. We'll have to see what these two teams have prepared for the final one. And hopefully, I think XSV Starfall, maybe don't overcook the draft a little bit this time.
Yeah, the top jungler swap. I mean, there were other things that might have been, challenges for them with that draft, but I don't really think that helped. Having like having, a mid jungle that has no real on-demand hard CC, that can make it hard to skirmish early game. And there's plenty of other things. But it's going to be a new draft, of course, fearless draft. All new champions, and so the players are going to be pushed a little bit more to their limits as we go into game number 3. We're going to see some new picks brought out, and we're also probably going to see, I would assume, XSV return to the blue side, because they had blue side.
Right? I mean, if this is right, it does look like typically our blue side team is on the top row generally. I think I'm getting word that is not the case. We're actually going to get confirmation where it is, and it will be Elysium PBJ on blue side this time around.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so I guess we'll be seeing XSV try to play through some sort of counter pick here. Last time around, that didn't quite work for them the way we necessarily expected. And it's going to continue to be these jungle bans thrown over towards Haman Karn from the side of Elysium. They do not want him on those comfort picks. Yeah.
Or Zayn, but then the third
J4,
one could be J.
They might try to blue.
They could. They could
J4
be one
first. I mean, there are answers to it, like a Poppy or something. Although she hasn't been as meta lately, but that is one of those staple junglers. It would not surprise me if they try to grab that here. Unless Haman Karn has some response they're worried about. So yeah, it's going to be Vi. I think that pretty clearly telegraphs to me that they want to grab the J4 here. And XSV continuing to ban away these same 3 champions as well, who have very similar poses, except Zoe's is kind of flipped.
Wait, that is wait, hold on. Wait a second. Yeah, that is absolutely correct. Well, I mean, the J4 being locked in first by Elysium PBJ is about as telegraphed as it could have possibly been. Jarvan, just a staple pick in the jungle for the last ever, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know if he's ever really been out of meta. There might have been a bit where he was turbo nerfed some number of years ago. I don't know. I can't remember. As long as I've been playing and casting competitive league, he has been pretty prevalent though.
Yeah, and so the response from XSV Starfall will be the Corki, but importantly, it's the Pantheon. The Grand Starfall on Starfall. The name synergy. It's there. All they need now is Acel, and they've got the super name synergy coming through. But Zeri getting locked in by PBJ.
Yeah, and Pantheon should be a good answer for the Zeri. Has that point and click CC to stop her just zooming around the place. And Rumble, not a pick that we see every day in this league, not as common of one, but has the potential to output so much damage and catch a lot of players off guard. I think a lot of people really aren't ready for what that champion can do in the 1v1. It's going to be a Kennen, also kind of a rarity to see in the Conqueror League.
Yeah, and obviously Kennen has that extra range over the Rumble, but a large portion comes down if Kennen's allocation of power is obviously through that slicing maelstrom. We'll have to see if Imp will be able to, find some flank angles to be able to collapse down onto Elysium, set up multi-man stuns, and really slice through them. But with the Rumble, you also have the classic hot pot combo with the Jarvan.
Yeah, that is a very potent combo they have. And I feel like with Kennen, the thing that kind of flies under the radar a lot of times is just how important it is to keep your farm really good on the champion. Oh,
with
it's
Orn?
Kennen mid probably then. That's gonna be
okay.
I mean, he does a lot of damage, you know, it kind of in that 1v1 as well, but doesn't have the best range. So I'm kind of surprised to see it used as, I think, a blind pick, if I'm not, unless that's like a rumble mid or something, which I wouldn't expect from Aquafila. So, oh, Morgana mid as a counter pick to all the CC on the side of XSV is what it looks like to me. And the rumble also pretty good into the Ornn because he can shred that MR that Ornn likes to build. So I feel like Elysium has gotten away with some pretty solid picks in this draft. XSV, you know, using the counter pick, but it doesn't feel like they came away with a really hard winning matchup here. They end up with the Nami as a counter pick to the Melio, which I think is like, you know, fine for Nami, but it's certainly not unplayable.
Yeah, and also getting the Morgana counter into the Kennen, just conceptually. Wait.
Ornn's mid.
Ornn.
I mean, we did see.
What can you even say? You're like.
His wave clear's okay, but Morgana has better. I wouldn't expect to see like a solo kill come out of Argo the Radis, but we saw he got a lot of value out of the Galio pick in game number 1, showing up to team fights, you know, kind of a similar long range engage thing he can do, but although he doesn't have to throw himself into the mix for it. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. I feel like Morgana also can build items that really shred these things though. So, I mean, I don't think the Ornn had like a really happy home either which way he would end up. I don't know. So the solo lane picks from XSV are still a little confusing to me, but I am ready to be surprised by them. I mean, Kennen is a champion that, yeah, if he keeps his farm up, he can do so much damage going into the late game. The slicing maelstrom is such a key part of his kit, but I feel like the real mark of a Kennen player is, you know, using the rest of the kit masterfully as well to keep the damage coming and not just rely on that one button.
But I do also really like the response, like the late response from Elysium PPJ to get the Morgana and the Melio. Because, I mean, the Slicing Maelstrom comes through and then Melio cleanses it all. And if, you know, the Zeri's targeted late by a shield volt from Hamonkarn as a pick, bam, black shield. And then that doesn't do much there. And I feel like especially these two champions negate a lot of what XSV Starfall really want to do to be able to, you know, prevent these really big engaged teamfight ultimates from getting a ton of value.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. The only concern I kind of have with Elysium's team comp is it is pretty squishy. Jarvan's kind of the only like true frontliner on that team. And, you know, if XSV does start to pick up a lead, I think the Pantheon, the Kennen, even the Corki are just going to like nuke through those health bars really quickly. But if Elysium can keep things pretty stable, I think they are going to be in very fine shape going into the later stages of the game.
We'll obviously have to see how that plays out as we are ready to go on to the Rift. We've loaded up for the final time tonight, and I definitely a very intriguing draft from XSV Starfall. I said earlier that I hope they didn't overcook and they might not this time around, but an early Gatling gun, a very speculative one from Evil Fallen, gets a decent amount of value.
Okay, Elysium just needs to stop contesting these bushes level 1 because they are taking a lot of damage for it. They did get a good chunk on Jae Young, who was having to use that W to heal himself up, but still, I feel like, especially with a lane that scales so nicely like this Zeri Melio, you kind of want to just, you know, reduce the variance of your early lane as much as possible.
Yeah, A-Hop pressing forward to try to get Jae Young, who will heal himself up a little bit more. Jae Young kind of stuck in a bit of a corner, can't really find much else to go. Will eventually heal him back up a bit. This is the advantage of playing the Nami. You definitely can play a bit aggressively, but hold on, into jungle. Hamonkarn going for a very early invade onto Duddy Brains. Will get him low. Smite drops down, steals the camp away. And Power Q not going to be enough to kill Duddy Brains, but forces him out and will force a very early recall from the Jarvan.
Is going to be able to grab the Gromp and those wolves. Nice invade in terms of, you know, getting that 1v1 value, because Hamonkarn should be able to clear his jungle pretty securely unless Duddy Brains decides to get aggressive himself. but I don't know if he's going to be feeling confident enough to go for that because there's no real vision on the Pantheon here. So, they won't know what side he ends up on. But yeah, the one camp into invade, not something you see too frequently these days.
Karn moving in. Ogfelis on the opposite side of the map. Flash forward, gets the shield vault, gets a stun onto Ogfelis. Study Brains is here, is holding on to the flag and drag, but is now the target of Karn and Argo. Won't get the kills onto either, but Elysium PBJ pushed out of their own jungle once again on repeat.
Yeah, Karn really taking things personally, trying to have another dominant performance in this third game here. Black Shield a little late from Aquafelis, but still is able to live. But buying time for Ornn to kind of be able to start getting those items. If he gets like a Spectre's Cowl, I mean, it's going to be very hard to force that champion out of lane.
Yeah, but luckily Aquafelis as well on the Morgana has an insane amount of wave clear after you get a few levels. It does take a little bit to be able to get to that point, usually around level 5, but once you do get there, all you do is you press W on the wave, and then it's gone. It makes farming a breeze, really.
Yeah, it's a bit of nice brain off champion. I mean, there's still a lot of brain involved, really, in converting that into actual meaningful things. But I hate going against like a Morgana mid because a lot of times they really do just wave clear, and then they like hope that someone else on their team carries. It's not the most fun to play into.
Meanwhile, Evil Fallen and Jay Young continuing to run the lane a bit here, though Evil Fallen may have pressed a little bit too far forward. Takes a decent amount of damage in return. But once again, Nami, just has the innate healing power. They'll get the lane pushed in, they'll look to recall.
Yeah, nice reset coming through for the side of XSV's bot lane. If they want to look for something early off of this priority they've grabbed themselves, they can, but it looks like a mid lane gank is in order here.
Yeah, Black Shield drops early, but there's not quite enough damage from the Bellows Breath of Argo the Radis to prevent it. It was also a good Dark Binding landing to ensure that Karn could not use the Shield Vault to close the distance anyway, so Aquafelis safe once again. Will probably just be a bit safer as this lane goes on.
Yeah, as that shield gets bigger and as the cooldown gets lower, it's going to be harder for those gank opportunities to come through. Because Ornn doesn't, he deals magic damage, but it's not like he has an easy, reliable way to pop the shield before applying his CC. Karn is looking top here.
Yeah, will have an angle, does have the fully empowered abilities too. But Daro flashing forward, knowing he's in trouble, tries to burn down Imp, does have Ignite. It is ticking, but won't quite find the kill, so we move back to the top lane, but Imp is way too low to follow up on the gank on Karn. So very good heads up play from Daro.
I love that flash from Daro. And that's what I was talking about earlier, that Rumble can really catch people off guard. Imp thinks since he has Pantheon coming up, that he can just walk up and threaten the Rumble, but Daro says no way and flashes in, forcing a response flash from Imp. And on his own, Karn doesn't have the damage to take down this Rumble yet, so he just walks out.
Yeah, it's just very good awareness and heads up play from Daro, and because these two junglers, these two top laners don't have teleport, Imp's going to miss out an okay amount of farm as well.
Yeah, about a wave down in the CS department now. So that's going to be haunting guys picked up by Daro, and that refillable pot really going to help with this early trading.
Yeah, and he'll look to start to do Rumble's things, especially as he hits level 6. Equalizer, very apt name of an ability. Had used it already, probably to clear out the wave, get pushed in, make sure Imp gets even less gold. The Hawkupper is not quite landing. Karn is in the bot lane, will have been spotted by clearing out the ward in the Pixel Brush. Duddy Brains also in the bottom lane, potentially trying to find a gank, but the Drake is on the map, and it is getting started up by Karn.
Now, I haven't been tracking the junglers, but somehow Duddy Brains is up in farm despite the double invade from earlier. Maybe he stole some laners CS, the old taxation technique, but we do have a pause. And actually, looking at the jungle items, Duddy Brains has 2 fewer stacks on his, so he has come away with a few more camps, but also I'm noticing he has no other items, which means he hasn't backed. And that's going to make this dragon take potentially scary for the side of Elysium if they fight it.
Yeah, especially since the bottom lane of XSV Starfall has been largely advantaged, at least in terms of the amount of the push ability that they have. They've kept My Team is Muted and A-Hop under their own tower for most of this game. So the response from Elysium PBJ will take a while. Luckily, Haman Karn on the Pantheon, not exactly the quickest dragon taker ever. Fortunately, we have hit a pause now. I didn't see any disconnects, or at least any alerts of it appearing at the top of the screen. So we can only really speculate what this is for. But yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously, before we get out of this pause, our focus will absolutely be on this Drake that has come up on the map.
Yeah, we'll see if Elysium decides they want to fight it. I mean, the Aquafelis is a little.
A-Hop is moving towards it.
Yeah,
you kind of see.
It feels like they might be moving for a contest. They might also just be looking to clear vision and set up some of their own, which could go sideways for them if XSV does decide to try to collapse on this. No.
Oh,
okay. One of the junglers DC'd.
Yeah, so we'll probably one of the worst players to DC at the moment too, right? With how close they are at around the Drake coming up. So we'll wait to see who it is to return. We'll be waiting on that said return. So I guess since we've covered a large portion of that dragon, it is interesting to see that Aquafelis is also recalling at this present moment with Duddy Brains moving up with A-Hop towards that Drake.
I mean, they might just be trying to secure, vision and have the Jarvan there to kind of escort the Melio in, not expecting that this Pantheon is on there. And yeah, if that catches them off guard, it could be bad for them because Argo the Radis, while he doesn't have the most HP or mana, could throw out ultimate. As we're getting a read into the chat here.
Don't make me rule book you, Dorito. Huh. That is
sure. Yeah, I'm taking a powerful stance in the all chat wars.
Yeah, dude, this is we only learn from the best here in NA, and we do have one of the best all chatters in League of Legends right now with APA. So yeah, at least we have that going as a region in the professional scene, right? Like let's go.
Yeah,
but
I like it when the pros trash talk. So I think it's fine. It's a fine art, though. I gotta say, not everyone has the touch for it. Some people just come across as mean when they do it. You really don't want that to happen because then everyone just hates you. I feel like if you can do it where it still kind of feels fun to be flamed, that's where the real money is. Where you can make people feel like they're in on the joke. It's actually a very empathetic skill.
Core JJ, expert trash talker. S-tier trash talker, my opinion. Since we're on the subject, we have the time. Core JJ, S-tier trash talker. I think it was a few years ago when they were playing. It was against TSM, which tells you why it was probably more than just a few years ago with that statement. But remember, they were sent to play-ins at Worlds, and after a loss to Team Liquid, and Core JJ said, just more like congratulations for like play-ins because they need it. Basically, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along those lines. It's like
warm-up games. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. So I think I don't know who are your S tier trash talkers over there.
I feel like the newer generation of like APA, JoJo. I definitely like them, but outside of that, I don't know. I mean,
we're back. Awesome.
I gotta say, as a player who was in the Vanquisher League, I miss Improvise. That guy was great at it around these parts. He hasn't. I don't think he's been as active lately. But yeah, we are back in the game, and there is that little stutter. Not sure. Okay, yeah. So Haman Karn is off the dragon, and Jarvan is back in base. I'm not sure if either one of those is due to the disconnect. Is the stream still frozen for you?
Yeah, it's there we go. No, it was getting a little bit scary with how long it was taking. But usually when we have See, the thing is, usually when spectator like breaks like that, it's usually exactly on like a minute mark. Like it'd be exactly 7 minutes 00 seconds, and it was at 6. Typically, it's not always the case. So I wasn't as concerned, but it did take a little bit. But luckily, small indie company doesn't strike this time around. Does look like Hamon is back on the Drake though, and with the recall from Aquafelis and no teleport, it's very likely going the way of XSV Starfall.
Yeah, Duddy Brains also making his way to the top side, doing that blue buff. A very clear signal that they are giving this objective. And first Drake, it's nice to have, but Infernal alone isn't a huge value. It is going to be nice for XSV to start stacking those up, but I like that Elysium was very decisive in, choosing to give that. And they're instead going to have Duddy Brains take away some of those camps. They're going to have Aquafelis get a nice reset off. Still has the TP available as well. And there might be some trading bot.
Tidal wave going to come down, hits both A-Hop and my team is muted. Evil Fallen will take a really good chunk of damage down. We move up to the top lane. Hot pot combo drops onto Imp. Will now use the slicing maelstrom, but it won't land the CC in time. And the first blood goes the way of Daro.
That combo is just too powerful. Daro even holding on to the ignite. So might be able to use that in the near future. That is actually our first kill of the game here. I kind of thought we'd had one before that, but no, it's a little over 8 minutes in, and we're just getting that first blood. And Grubs have spawned now. We'll see if there is any sort of contest up towards that top side. You can see Haman Karn walking around. I believe Duddy Brains took some of his camps away in revenge, but yeah, it should be a Grubs fight coming up in a moment here.
I don't know if Grubs are exactly the objective you want to be fighting over on either side. Oh, lightning crash from my team is muted. They saw the ambitious recalls from Evil Fallen and Jay Young, but unfortunately it doesn't cancel either of them, and the Zeri will be down on ult for the time being.
I think they were trying to catch that little moment where one person's recall has gone off and the others hasn't, so they can, isolate the fight and turn it into a 2v1, but yeah, didn't quite work out. And so they are going to lose out on that ult, but Zeri is still a functional champion without it. I mean, if there's going to be a big team fight, she needs it, but I wouldn't expect a big team fight to happen for quite a while, so it'll probably come up without too much fuss.
Yeah, and with Grubs up and available and Duddy Brains on the bottom half of the map, it will be the Grubs also going the way of XSV's Starfall. We getting them their second neutral objective of the game. We'll give them that slight advantage in terms of tower damage, but it's not quite as impactful as they once were, not on their glory days of Grubs.
Yeah, I mean, in some of the games we had, like, if there's, like, in that game where we had a Gnar earlier or something, like, there are champions that I think can make really good use of the Grubs if they're...
Before we get to that, flag drag comes through, Cataclysm drops onto Jay Young, the Breath of Life will keep my team is muted alive for a little bit longer, the exhaust drops down to Evil Fallen, he doesn't do enough damage as he's exhausted, my team is muted, gets a kill in response, and now the flag drag from Duddy Brains should be coming through at any moment now, flag drag, Duddy Brains gets the second kill to the side of Elysium PBJ.
As Cinema Sins would say, that is the Prometheus school of flashing away from things and, just getting hit by the same skill shot you were trying to dodge. But it's, I mean, a great gank by Duddy Brains here. You can see him lurking in the fog of war there, and as soon as Evil Fallen uses that Valkyrie forward, it's kind of funny that he goes on to Jay Young and kind of just ditches his area, because this was very nearly a kill for the Corki here. But yeah, that lightning crash came back up, and this whole time my team is muted, still had access to the flash and the barrier, so playing with a cool head, holding onto those summoner spells for whatever the next fight may be. But yeah, it's a nice 2 kills picked up by the side of Elysium here.
And now they are just under 3k gold in the lead to the side of Elysium PBJ. It's definitely a strong advantage for them, but not quite at that moment where you could start considering, is it in fact peanut butter jelly time?
Yeah, it's not quite peanut butter jelly time. It's not peanut butter jelly time till the whole series is over and they've got the win, I think. And that maybe then we can play the song. But it's still very much anyone's game. 2,500 gold in favor of Elysium, but there is a Drake in favor of XSV, and they did get those grubs as well, which will help them claim a little bit of that turret gold back. But I really haven't seen XSV like hitting the towers much at all. For the most part, all of Elysium, Peanutbutter, and Jelly's lanes have been pushing in. The Rumble has great wave clear in the early game. Morgana, is always a great wave.
Oh, Grand Starfall used by Hamonkarn. The equalizer will drop immediately. Slicing Maelstrom will follow the flash of Daro, and his shutdown gets picked up by Hamonkarn.
It's a nice shutdown for the Pantheon, but I don't know how impactful it is in the grand scheme of things, because that is 2 ultimates and 2 summoners burned by the side of XSV to get that kill. So while they do get a nice kill and burn Daro's summoners as well, they're not going to be able to convert it into, say, an objective or a big chunk on a turn. It's still gold into the pockets of someone who desperately needs it, though. So certainly the right foot for XSV to find themselves on as they want to progress this game.
And with that extra advantage, hold on. Orenhorn will be called. Second cast fit finds its way onto a spell shielded target, but it's a stolen Drake by the Nami. Flag drag comes through, gets a Cataclysm onto 3. They're trapped down. Lightning Crash is used immediately. Daro is here. Daro does not have access to the equalizer. Won't matter. Burns down Argo the Radis, and now the target is Evil Fallen. Double kill getting picked up by Daro. Hamonkarn and Jae Young have to escape, but they've got 4 members of PBJ separating them in their tower, and Duddy Brains will pick up a 3rd kill of that fight, going the ways of Elysium PBJ.
And the counter punch from Elysium is real here. Hamonkarn was able to show up here, but the dragon was already a decent way done, and the position in the river from the side of Elysium PB&J makes it pretty tough for them to approach. Now, we did end up having a steal come through here. You can see these AoE abilities flying through, and I need to see how this happened. Okay, it was an early smite from Duddy Brains. I think thought he had maybe the next level of upgraded smite, but did not. So the tidal wave gets it, but the fight is Elysium's on the back end here. You can see just so much damage coming through from Daro, and My Team is muted, running around, and just they might not have hard CC, but death is the best CC.
Yeah, and now they have 6 kills under their belts. A decent gold lead that we will eventually get the exact number of after we get back. 4K. Wait, nope. 3.5K. I can math. I don't tell my mom. She's a math teacher, and she'd hate me for that one. But still, point is, Elysium PBJ in a pretty solid advantages. Started to extend their gold lead even further, though. XSV did really well to steal that Drake away and puts them on not soul point, but 1 away, and can definitely start to drag Elysium around. And now Grand Starfall comes through, but Duddy Brains is here. Equalizer drops, flag drag over the equalizer means Hamonkarn's getting burned down. And even though the Slicing Maelstrom drops, it's not enough damage to kill Hamonkarn, and there's no damage left. And Imp's Kit, double kill to Daro.
And Hamonkarn was not able to use that E on the Pantheon to block all that damage. He just ends up sitting in the equalizer as he gets knocked up by the flag drag combo. So that alone pretty much.
Lightning Crash will come through. It was a good exhaust drop onto Evil Fall, and the damage onto Jae Young is hefty. My Team is muted, looking to push forward a little bit more. Won't find much else.
Yeah, 2v2, not resulting in any kills, but some summoner spells being burnt, and yeah, top side of the map, flourishing for Elysium, Peanutbutter, and Jelly. That Daro is sitting at 5-1 on the Rumble now. Duddy Brains, despite having that invade come his way early game. Oh wait, hold on. Hamonkarn is on the backside here.
Going forward, flashes immediately, but dies before Hamonkarn can arrive. Jae Young flashed on, but will flash away in response. The shutdown will eventually find its way onto Hamonkarn, but it's a little bit too impatient from the bot lane of XSV.
A little bit rushed from XSV's bot lane. It is another nice kill onto Hamonkarn, but I do think they need to start getting kills onto their other members. They need Imp or Evil Fallen to really start becoming a threat if they want to find their way back in this game, because I don't think Pantheon can do it all on its own when there's a Black Shield, when there's Emilio, when there's so many answers from the side of Elysium. They need follow-up damage from that point-and-click CC. And
flag drag drops its way onto him. Equalizer goes the wrong way, but Imp still getting very low. Finds a stun onto Duddy Brains, but Daro's damage is too much. Daro is unstoppable. 6-1-1 on the Rumble.
This Kennen is not finding success so far. The Rumble just winning the 1v1 very hard. so far this game. Now a big Maelstrom could change anything, but it's, you know, they haven't really been able to set up a team fight the way they want to for the side of XSV to let that cannon flank. You know, that phase of the game is still going to come later, but it does not bode well for them that they are having these struggles early, because then you set up struggle deep vision. You're going to struggle to you know, corral the enemy where you want them to go, and so it's, you know, in all likelihood going to force Imp to take some very straightforward angles that Elysium can react to.
And if Elysium can react to it, they definitely have the utility in their kits to be able to stop it, and with how ahead they are, can survive it, and then the, you know, punch back around becomes very easy for this Elysium PBJ team to deal with that. However, Karn, obviously, access to the Grand Starfall always allows for some very creative angles, so you can never fully, you know, write off any of these moves that XSV look for. Jae Young pressing forward, trying to clear out of control ward, but may get mind controlled by it. It's a support mindset that I fall trapped to every now and then. Conqueror, death pushing. I'll go and find the mark. Orenhorn will be caught down, but Dirty Brains is here. Flag drag finds way only onto Karn, but the Orenhorn not really going to get too much value. Argo the Rat is going to fully retreat. All 5 members collapsing around this Drake. If it goes way of XSV, if with a slicing Maelstrom goes to the middle of everyone, the Grand Starfall follow up, gets a kill onto A-Hop. The lightning crash comes through. The tidal wave hits everybody as well. It goes about as perfectly as you could hope for XSV, but my team is muted, is still alive. He's popping down the damage, and Ogfelis goes for it, and only Jae Young is left. Lands the dark binding. He's gone fishing, and they found Jae Young. That is an ace to the way of Elysium PBJ. They get the Drake as well. They are up and running away with this game.
It looked like XSV might have finally found their angle back into the game with that flank from Imp. He flashes into the whole team and does put down the slicing Maelstrom, but it only results in the kill on A-Hop. No one else dies, and then that hot pot combo you keep talking about lets Elysium fire back with so much damage. You can see it again here. I really thought that flank from Dirty Brains was going to get a lot more value. I thought that's when the hot pot combo was going to come through, but instead, you know, it starts out pretty neutral here, and then yeah, Imp takes the engage, but it's only really A-Hop that eats the full brunt of it, and then the re-engage from Elysium here is so big. You can see Aquafelis with the flash ultimate to help finish off some of those kills, and yeah, the wallet difference is being felt very strongly here as Elysium is approaching 10,000 gold up. Now, when we're out of this replay, they might have hit that mark. We'll see. It is, yeah, just about a 10,000 gold lead. Not quite, but very
not
close.
Officially. But effectively, it is in around that market, especially pre-20 minutes, is one that is hard to come back from, but they are going to try to find onto Daro. It's a good awkward person to stun him up, but Dirty Brains has arrived to help out his top laner, but Fallow is not going to flag drag forward. Evil Fallen now. Getting a little bit spicy with his positioning there when you've got a Jarvan nearby, but we'll back away before any more can come of that.
It's an interesting build that Aquafelis has gone for this game. Blackfire Torch into what looks to be a full support setup coming through now. I think is building for the...
flag drag from Dirty Brains doesn't quite hit the mark. Will be stunned up constantly, but a good breath of life ensures that he gets to move again. The lightning crash comes through. Autoing away on my team is muted. Picks up 2 kills in quick order. Sorry, I apologize. Dirty Brains was the one who killed Karn, but still 2 kills go the way of Elysium PBJ. 1 onto the jungler with Baron spawning.
My team is muted is massive on this area, just dashing over the wall.
No, these health bars are kind of low.
Yeah, this could be a quadra kill.
Okay, all right. Fat Dirty Brains flag drags away. It was that was definitely the kidded angle if I ever saw one, but luckily Elysium PBJ are wise to the ways of Kinnan and won't stay around for that.
There was no flash on Kennen, and he hasn't built a rocket belt either, so they might have just been able to space him out, but I wouldn't want to take the risk if I was Elysium, as Aquafelis is getting ganked here.
Yeah, but it's a good dark binding lining its way onto Karn, so he'll be getting the AFK notice, and as Aquafelis walks out, so you'll be all right.
Yeah, that's an ult down for nothing really. And I mean, how can you play this game if you're Pantheon into the Morgana? He's consistently just hitting those bindings so Pantheon can't use the shield vault, and then the black shield is there to protect from any follow-up CC. So that pick is working wonders for the Elysium squad here.
Yeah, my team's muted. Does have the access to be able to jump over the wall, but Eagle Fallen follows up. Doesn't nearly have enough of his own. 0-6-1 on the Corki. Not having a good time here in Game 3 is the ADC of XSV Starfall.
I mean, that just feels like a bit of a tilt play when you feel like you have to make something happen, but like the conditions really aren't there for it to be, you know, a properly good play. And yeah, my team is muted, just turns the 1v2 around. And that is going to be Baron started up as well. The blue ward sees it out. There still is a chance for things to go right here, but the health bar is dropping rapidly.
Has no Grand Starfall. Imp does no flash, has no way in. Smite comes down, but it goes the way of Daro. Luckily, PBJ secure it. Dark Bind doesn't quite hit Jae Young. Flag drag doesn't either. So Jae Young able to flash over the wall and escape. It was very, very dangerously close for the Nami.
Yeah, they you know, XSV wanted to find a way in, but they're too late to the party, and so while they try to get something back, it feels like they're just really struggling to find any sort of answer for what Elysium is doing. They've got strong solo laners that can stand on their own in these side lanes, and the ADC is strong enough to 1v2 the enemy bot lane, so you really have to go for some sort of desperation play and overload one side of the map if you are XSV to get some of these shutdowns.
Though will throw up a black shield, won't get hit by the Aqua Prison. It's definitely looking a bit over aggressive from the Water Cat, but we'll be able to get out of there. Now the rest of Elysium PBJ has arrived in the mid lane with that Baron buff. There isn't exactly a ton of wave clear on the side. Dark Binding not quite going to stop the Grand Starfall. Daro now in a little bit of trouble. Will flash over the wall. Jae Young is caught though. My team is beat, finds that kill with an equalizer. Finds way onto Imp and Hamon Card. Cataclysm comes down. Eddie Flames flashes out of it. Double kill goes the way of the Zeri. Triple kill into the hands of my team is muted, and only Evil Fallen and Argo the Radis are left for XSV Starfall.
That was interesting. Hamon got like trapped outside of the J4 ultimate and couldn't walk around it to safety, so he also goes down. Big value out of that ability. And at this point, Elysium, PB, and J can just send it onto the enemy team, whoever they see. It doesn't feel like they really have any fear at this point. And why should they? They are, you know, winning every fight despite
Hexgate's getting out, but it's a bit disjointed on the escape. It's a really good mega fire kick to prevent the second cast of the Orin Horn. And so what was looking perhaps a little bit dangerous for Elysium PBJ turns out to be somewhat advantageous. They're able to regroup from it, but Hamon Karn going to try to find a way in on a flank. He's coming through with the shield vault, going to hold on to that Ocpheus down to just above half HP, goes instead onto Duddy Brains. It's not really the target that you want. And now, oh my god, Imp's completely deleted. My team is muted, goes legendary. They lose their top laner. They lose the Slicing Maelstrom before it can even be used. They target the mid lane tier 2. There won't be any contest from XSV Starfall. Inhibitor falling in short order as well. And you gotta feel you say it's not before, you don't want to call it before the Nexus goes, but it's really peanut butter and jelly time unless XSV Starfall can find a way back into it. But it's a great equalizer from Daro, hitting every single member of XSV Starfall, and it is finally, we can call it peanut butter jelly time for Elysium.
It's peanut butter jelly time with a side of absolute slaughter in the enemy base as Elysium just dive the Nexus turrets and take the win here in this third game. It was a slow start to the series from them, but they really pulled through in these last two games very convincingly, I thought.
Yeah, it's just really a comprehensive performance from Elysium Peanut Butter Jelly all around. And I mean, they played their comp to perfection. I mean, really everybody on this Peanut Butter Jelly team did exactly what we expected they would do if it was a Peanut Butter Jelly win. And yeah, I mean, there's no comment, right? Like, this is when you're like a director, you go like, all right, after that performance, no notes, everyone pack it up, go home, well done.
Yeah, it's a big game for them and a big match to win, because, you know, we were saying before, this could be a preview of two teams that make it to finals. It's, you know, there's maybe still a little bit of question marks around the subs, but I think since it was a fair fight on both sides, things are looking pretty good for Elysium, PB, and J so far.
Yeah, and, you know, And also really good in the mental department as well, because after the slapping they took in game 1, to be able to come back in that fashion. I mean, yeah, I mean, fair. I don't even know how to add on to that, because with how comprehensive it is, like it's true, right? Like their performance really spoke for itself. I mean, 10K gold lead pre 20 minutes is that's just slacking right there.
Yeah, it's like, and you know, they did a good job of not throwing it too hard at any point. Only 1 death apiece on 3 members, 2 of them staying deathless. Like, you know, even with such a dominant win, I think a lot of teams still give away freebies here and there, but they were able to stop that. I mean, you saw like the super mega fire kick halting the Ornn ult.
Yeah,
that was pretty brutal. I was like,
was...
oh, maybe XSV gets a couple picks back here, because like they, you know, Elysium was a little split, but nope, it's one ability to cancel out a whole ult.
Yeah, so yeah, congratulations to Elysium Peanutbutter Jelly Time. That's not their name. You know, Elysium Peanut Butter Jelly. I was a bit too stuck onto that little dancing banana song. I don't have the banana suit for it. But anyway, congratulations to them on their victory in what was the most anticipated matchup of this week, perhaps even of the regular season, if we're being completely honest. And, you know, well played for XSV Starfall. Thank you to them for coming out to be able to put on a show for us here tonight in the Titan Conqueror League. But that will conclude our broadcast tonight. I've been Isaac. Commentating alongside me has been Freedom Potatoes, Shrogan, and Loki, running things behind the scenes, providing us with the, you know, excellent camera work and a stream in the first place. And to everyone from everyone at Titan Esports, we bid you a very good night.